Welcome back, Smite fans. The SPL continues now as we're getting ready for Splyce versus Luminosity. But I do have good news for you. You're sitting at home, make sure you load up the brand new patch and play the new goddess, Yamoja, the goddess of the rivers. Look, I'm a mid laner, as you all know. I'm joined by another mid laner, one far better than I at Zeros. Zeros, have you gotten a chance to play Yamoja in mid yet? Have you tested it out?
I tried her in jungle practice, and I don't think she's going to be good at mid, unfortunately.
I know, man. She's so fun. I want to play her there. I just don't think she has enough damage.
Yeah.
I just don't think
we already got a Guardian to play mid this year, so
yeah, well,
two would be too much to ask for.
We got a Guardian to play mid this year. You got the Guardian to play mid in Jorm. But that's right, it's time for Splyce up against Luminosity. Now, Luminosity not at full strength today. We want to lead off with that. Ionic not here, so they do have a sub in that support role. It's Dingodile, a guy who, if you watch a lot of top-end streams, you know that he's a high-level ranked player here in North America, has played support for a long time, played in the minor league level a little bit. The gods that kind of stand out to me, Zeros, I don't know if you've gotten a chance to play against them yet, but the Sobek and the Ares really stand out to me.
The Ares especially, and I hate playing against Ares, so he's been a nightmare in some of my games as well. But then again, you have to keep in mind, ranked and competitive, SPL, the highest level, very different.
Very, very different for sure, so we'll see how he's able to perform, especially up against Aror, probably the worst support matchup you could ever have if you're stepping in. It's like, hey, I can't wait to play normal Smite guys, and it's Aror pounding you with Hercules at level 1. You're like, this isn't right.
This is a true test if you're good enough at support.
Yes, seriously, man. It is not an easy one. Not a lot of actual good enough supports pass this test in comparison to what Aror brings. And I think the space that he creates really sets Ven up, and Venenu, as of late, has really been playing well. I mean, Zeros, you can speak to it as well as I can, that having space as a mid laner is the best way to make you look good. Having everyone CC'd in front of you makes your job really easy. But Ven, I think, has really taken that next step as of late and really been making plays on his own.
He just looked insane against the United the last set. Did he die once in a set? Maybe.
Like,
he was just like playing mage. He played Merlin twice, I think, and Hera once, and just insane performance every game. And as you said, if your jungler and support is playing well, it makes it so easy to play mid. Obviously, you still need the mechanics, you need to hit your skill shots, but right. I mean, if this is on CC every time, you just throw your abilities and have a good time, you know?
And everyone praises you, and they're like, man, mid's so cool, and you're like, yeah, you're right, and it feels real good. But a lot of times it is those frontliners making the space for you. But Venenu has been playing really, really well as of late, went deathless against the United, as you highlighted. The Merlin, the Hera, also a big proponent, I think. I was watching Ven do this Boots to Doomorb start. Yep. He was one of the first to really pull it out, I think. So he's potentially changed the whole meta with the way that build. I think it's made a huge difference and a big reason why we see mages back in mid lane right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think mages will overtake.
Oh my God!
Why is he dabbing? Either way, I think mages will they can overtake hunters now in mid. I think with that build, because the cooldown boost into Doomorb, that power spike is so good compared to like when hunters have boost transcendence. They're so much shorter range than the mages. So yeah, for sure.
It's really good stuff in the mid lane right now for those mages, and we'll see if Snoopy can take advantage of that, because on the other side for LG, he has been a catalyst for this squad. Doesn't have his buddy today in Ionic. Normally those two synergize so well together, but I feel like Snoopy, in the way that he's played, has been a big reason why LG's been so much more successful this phase.
Yeah, for sure. And like, he flexes. He doesn't only play in the mid lane. He plays in duo lane a lot too. And like always, you have to ban Sata against this man, because
he pops.
Yeah,
he's on constant pop-off alert with this god just about every single time, and it's really fun to watch. I feel like Snoopy has one of the bigger god pools in the entire game, man. I mean, he's played so many different roles competitively at this point, but a couple must bans being added in, like you mentioned, the set, I feel like you can't give him that. I don't think you can give this dude Isis. I mean, he carried a game really hard against Rival.
He hard carried. I think it was the last game as well of this set, and just absolutely popped off this game. So like, he plays the meta gods at such a high level, and he also has his own flavor picks, like the set. Like, it makes it so hard to pick and ban against this guy. Really,
really impressive stuff for him, and for all of Luminosity. It hasn't just been the Snoopy show by any means. Joshy has been a real good contributor.
Yep.
Lasbra's looked great in the jungle. I think Luminosity has one of the higher ceilings of any team going into placements, and they're coming off a win against Rival. That's the last time we saw them. This is their final game of the season. If you're in LG's shoes here, Zeros, and you know that you're going to placements and you've got a really tough opponent and you have a sub, are you putting a lot of stock in this set?
Probably not, honestly. Like, I don't know. They have a Dingodile.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. Never played in that spell before, and like, it's kind of unfortunate though, because Xaliea has really been on the rise, winning against rival.
Yeah.
And now, like, it would be insane to see them put up a good fight against Splyce. I don't think that's gonna be the case with a sub. So like, I kind of unfortunate, but for them, I guess. Maybe practice on new picks or like just have fun with it.
Yeah, I think that I'm with you, man. I mean, we've been a part of those games that don't really matter. I mean, you're not moving in the standings at all. With Obey's loss, I believe that guarantees Luminosity is your 8th seed, so you know that that's already locked in. Your seeding's locked. On the other hand, for Splyce, this is important for them. With Rival going with the win today, but only at a 3-2 pace. If Splyce win out, I believe they've got a chance at 1st seed here. So a 3-0 is pretty important for them at this rate. And
honestly, if they want the 3-0, I'm pretty sure they get it. And as you mentioned earlier with the Aror Herc, I'm pretty sure. Actually, that's probably going to get banned, let's be honest.
You have to, man. I don't think there's any way. 18 games is your total schedule, so Splyce have 3 more to go. So it looks like they can't get 1st seed, actually. They could only improve to 13 wins, and Rival at 14 means that they have locked up your top overall seed, but Splyce look like they might be able to get into that 2nd seed slot. They could upset they can push out Dignitas rather. PK has a couple games to go. I believe they have a doubleheader next week.
Yeah, they're against Splyce as well, I'm pretty sure.
I believe you're right. So if Splyce win that one, then they are your guaranteed 2nd seed, it looks like to me. Though Renegades is just a little bit behind them, and that could come down to plus minus. That's tough.
Oh yeah, I think PK is against Renegades as well. So like, I think those top 5 standings can change a bit. Obviously not Rival, but like the other standings can probably switch back and forth a bit.
That's right. Rival Dignitas already done with all their games. Renegades only have a couple more to go. They've got 2, and then E-United only 1 more. And I believe we'll see that later on this week up against Renegades. So that's a tough one for them there. So Splyce, important game for them. They want to secure that 2nd seed. Difference between 2nd and 3rd seed is a pretty big deal here at World Zeroes, because 2nd seed gets to play against one of those teams that comes out of placements.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier, though. Is that really a good thing?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
If you look back at MSI, then...
That is true.
Especially Rival now going to play SML again. Imagine if they get swept.
Oh, no. They could play Armada. They could play Armada in the quarterfinals.
It is a Snoopy-less Armada, though.
That is true. Snoopy-less, and, I mean, but they've got Baskin now. That's a big deal.
Yes, but I feel like the set was the nail in the coffin.
I agree, for sure. The Meerkat Erlong mid, not as potent as it was then. That was when Erlong was at his peak. Might change some things. Getting ready here for the LG versus Splyce set. Thank you for bearing with us in a game that Splyce, it does have to look good. Is there anywhere else you're looking here for Splyce? Because I think that Ven's been playing well, but I think that Scream is also taking his game to the next level.
Scream also, like we talked about Venenu playing good last week, but what about Scream?
Yeah.
Do you remember that last Achilles game he played? Like just one-shotting everyone. I think he might have had a perfect KDA as well.
Crazy game for Scream. And I feel like he's the type of dude who's going to play the things that no one else wants to play. Not many people are playing Achilles Jungle anymore. You know no one's touching Bastet besides Scream. Like, no one is touching that god with a 10-foot pole besides this guy. And he just seems to make it work just about every time. I think the game planning against Splyce, I think you have to start with Aror no matter what, because he can ruin your game in the early game every time. But then you've got to have a game plan for Ven and for Scream and for, CycloneSpin. Like, what is this team, dude? They are stacked.
Yeah, they have a lot of good players, like CycloneSpin as well. Such an impressive player, honestly, because I feel like he's been the best duel. I don't know if you can call Hunter player anymore, but like the best dual lane player, I feel like he's been ever since the mage meta began. In the dual lane, I feel like he's been the best, because like he's been the Hunter player that has played the best on the mages, and he's always been playing the top tier mages like Isis. If he ever can get Isis, he will pick it and he will carry on it. And same, I still think he's probably the best Hunter player as well. Unless Hercules and Uller.
Hercules Uller is definitely rising up right now, but CycloneSpin just has that god pool, man, that's so difficult to go against, and that really has been a good boon for them. And then SoloOrTroll is slotted into this team really, really well in this phase 2. I think he's been playing great.
Yeah, for sure. Like, super impressive. I kind of expected him to play this well, though, because I played against him in ranked a lot, and I also watched the stream a bit.
Yeah.
Super good individually. Like, the only problem for him could be, like, does he choke on land? Does he, like, underperform? But he has played really well, so...
Mechanically, I think he's one of the top players in the entire SPL. I think understanding how to team fight as a solo laner is what's needed to come to him, and it has very, very solidly. This man on your screen, Dingodile, the substitute for Luminosity, who's going to be subbing in today for Ionic in that support role. If you'd missed it earlier, Ionic not here, so Dingodile going to have to step in. Definitely has played at lower levels of competition before, has played with guys kind of in that minor league area. Benny Q, a former teammate of his, so you know that he's got some experience competitively, but even, we talked about ranked versus competitive being very different. Even minor league level competition compared to SPL is a vastly different thing.
Yeah, for sure. Interested on this, big opportunity for him. Like, imagine him just popping off today. Imagine he first picks the Hercules and just runs over Aror, like.
That'd be huge, man. He'd be the talk of the town.
Yeah, exactly, because the season's over soon, People might be looking for new support, so a big opportunity for him.
That's a good point. Stepping in here on short notice for the LG boys. As well, you've got to look at this guy on your screen, Joshy. He's played really, really well for LG. I think that all of the talk has been around the mid 3v3 for LG, the new addition, so to speak. But Joshy and Xaliea have really turned up here in Phase 2.
Yeah, for sure. Xaliea has been kind of inconsistent. I feel like some games he really plays well and some games not so much. But Joshy and Snoopy is so interesting to me. They're kind of doing what we wanted to do in PK. Like, we wanted to be able to flex me and Vote around, so we could always play on our strongest picks and wherever we could get the best matchup. We never got it to work. But I feel like LG kind of has got it to work, because no matter if they put Snoopy or Joshy mid, they look really good. You don't really see any different in how they play the game.
Sure.
So if you can do that, I think that's such a benefit to have as a team, because you can you can pick so many more picks. Now they have Snoopy can play set ADC. As I said, so hard to draft against a team, and you never expect who's gonna play where either.
What is the biggest challenge in that? What makes that so difficult to execute, just putting the best gods where you want to put them?
I mean, obviously you can get the best matchups wherever you want, and you can switch something out, get a counter matchup. But I think the struggles you have is the mid laners usually talk more than hunter players, right? Because hunter players have for a lot of the time the meta has been the hunter is just alone in his lane, right?
Sure.
Very rarely has been 2-on-2. And even if it's a 2-on-2, it's usually the support talking most of the time. Right. Maybe not for everyone, but in most cases.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, so I think you put the hunter in mid, they're not used to talking. It becomes kind of weird, because usually you give a lot of info in mid, while hunter players doesn't give as much info, so it becomes kind of weird in the 3-on-3.
Interesting. I think that's something that we had been talking about in the casting section a little bit when this whole meta first started, so interesting to hear your points on that. Thanks for bearing with us. We're ready now for picks and bans for game number 1. Splyce in that first pick slot. You highlighted a Hercules ban almost certainly coming for LG, and I agree. And I think that puts Splyce in such a good power position here, because now you get to just not ban Isis, not ban Persephone, not ban Set, whatever or Amaterasu, whatever you think that next tier god is, and then just get whatever you want, it feels like.
Interesting. Maybe that's a Dingodile special, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Lasbra does play it a lot in the jungle. Maybe they're scared of it that way. I mean, I really do think that's what you do if you're in first pick right now, is just wait it out, see what they're going to give you, and it looks like that's the case. You either get to first pick Hercules or one of the top tiers.
Yeah, exactly. Because LG kind of has to ban Persephone, Isis, and Herc, right? So
maybe Ama? Are you willing to give up Ama instead of Herc?
Probably against Aror, right? I mean, actually, I don't know, man.
Yeah, so now LG's going through the exact same, the screws that we are. It's either Ama or Herc here. You could leave both open and get yourself Amaterasu or Hercules. As
I said, maybe Dingodile wanna play Herc and pop off on that, so...
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. LG do leave both open. They instead ban the Thor away from Screammmmm, a god that he likes quite a bit. And it's going to be Olorun first pick instead. So LG could go Hercules and Ama here if they want, but then Aror just takes Horus, and everything's fine.
Yeah, for sure. Aror has so many good early game picks. First picking Olorun, I like it, because to just see if the enemy team, will they counterpick it? If they don't, then perfect. Olorun is probably one of the strongest gods you can have right now in your team comp. But as for now, if those two picks go through for LG, both are still already really good against Olorun. And
they're just good in general, right? It's not like you're having to pick Odin right away. You're getting two top tiers right off the bat if this is going to be Jormungandr and Amaterasu. Probably a question of, can Dingodile play the Ama, right? We know that Iana can. It feels like a god that he can play. Been around for so long. But normally LG put Xaliea on the Ama when they get it. Now this would be over towards a support role, and they do decide to lock it in.
Yeah, I would assume Dingodile can play it, though, because he's played a lot of ranked. He's a ranked player.
Yep.
And if you want to win ranked games, you play Amaterasu.
Ama.
No matter what role, you play that. So I'm sure he has some practice on it.
That's right. Unless he doesn't want to win, in which case maybe he hasn't been playing it. Hercules is the selection for Aror. The test begins for LG, and then Venenu gets his Merlin that he's played so well on. This is a sick top 3 for Splyce.
I love this. I say it every time. Medical ADC with the Spear of Magus Mage in mid, just so good.
Just great synergy because the Spear of the Magus shreds prots that your Hunter can take advantage of, and your Demonic Grip shreds prots that your mid-mage can really benefit from. Really great interactions there. And then you've got the Hercules to do enough damage where they can't just stack magic defense.
Just yeah, exactly. Perfect. Like, it's just so perfect, those 3 picks. I love it so much. Because now they have Herc, they can pick 2 now, the physicals as well. It's like it's super hard for the enemy team to build as well, right? Like, do we build medical defense? Do we build physical defense? Probably we want to build medical defense, right? Because both the carries are medical, but then you're going to have this Herc just running you over, so...
Doesn't feel good for you, for sure. Thoth the pick here, and this is probably going to be for Joshy. He's played a lot of this in the long lane as of late. Seems like there are Thoth players, usually they fall into 1 and 2 camps, and let me know if you agree with this, because you are the premier Thoth player, Zeros. They either hit all of their 1s and miss all their ults, or miss all their 1s and hit all their ults. It's hard to find one that can do both, it feels like.
Moswell, I think, did both in he missed that earlier. He missed like 1 ult that whole game, I think. So I don't think that's necessarily true. Maybe when I play it.
Well, Moswell is one of the best Thoths as well. With you on the desk with me right here, I think Moswell might have the best Thoth in the league.
Yeah, he does for sure. Like, it's just... Maybe we should talk about that set, but why the hell did I not pick Thoth in the last 3 games?
I have no idea, dude. It was driving me insane. We'll get to that later, I suppose. That's a topic for another time. Couple physicals banned away by LG. They're looking at Scream in the jungle by way of Susano and Mercury. I'm looking at this comp, though, Zeros, and I'm already thinking, I'm just a big Dodgy fan. I think Dodgy is really, really sick. Love it against Thoth. How does he ever get away from you?
Yeah, like one of the worst gods to play against as Thoth, Dai. Also Fafnir. I'm not sure about Fafnir jungle right now, but like those 2 gods, so hard to play against because they follow you to the dash, they have hard CC, like they just kind of one-shot you as well if they ever get on you, so we'll see if they opt to go for it here.
I like this Anhur pick, though, for LG. This is a pick that I think they had been shying away from for the past few weeks. Felt like they were putting Snoopy on things like Chernobog a lot more, and that was banned by Splyce with the 2 hunters they took away. But I think that was a bait. They let open the Anhur, and Scream takes the Awilix. This is a great pick for him, a historic pick. I like to call it the Awizial, to harken back to the Verizial Awilix days. I'm a fan. I think Splyce is killing it.
Have some. Actually, every single character on Splyce has a knock-up.
That's true.
Even Merlin, if he switched to Arcane stance in his
Scream
ultimate.
Gravity Surge is off a Merlin change stance, I'm going to lose it. That is the tiniest knock-up in the world. It's a little baby knock-up.
It's definitely enough. It's definitely enough. That's actually such a sick Awilix pick.
That's a sick Ares pick on the other side. This could be for Dingodile. Put the Ama in jungle, and then let Dingo play the signature Ares. And again, it is sick here. I mean,
really
Arthur,
good,
Awilix, Merlin, Hercules, and Olorun no CC immunity?
Yeah.
I kind of love it.
On paper, it looks good. But if you think about reality, you blink into a Merlin Olorun.
Yeah, you're
2
getting
seconds later, you're up in the air.
Yeah.
You're up in the air trying to pull them, but you're dead before you pull them. So
okay, so LG basically, if they get off to a good start, I think this Ares can carry the game.
Yeah,
it has the potential. But if this Ares fall behind early, that's it might be bedtime early today.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be super hard for him. And as you said, it's a substitute with no experience in like high-level competitive games, so it's definitely gonna be hard. But if he pulls through, man, it's gonna be impressive.
Man, give your energy to Dingodile, chat. He's gonna need it up against the Aror Hercules today. But I think could carry the game. You think Ares better here in the jungle? Well, I guess we don't want the chance to find out because we can just look in the game. Game 1 coming at you, Splyce versus LG.
Man, sad we won't get to hear Zeros' answer on that one. Thank you, Aggro and Zeros on the desk. Finch and F. Here to bring you the calls and move into Splyce versus LG. And this is a set that I was really excited for when I thought we were going to have Ionic in here for this team, but I think there's still a chance that LG with Dingodile in here, if he can start playing well and get into a groove, that they can make some noise here.
I think you're absolutely right there, John. Dingodile is a player that has played at competitive levels. AVGL, the Collegiate League, is something that he's been able to do. And so for those that are unfamiliar with what he's able to bring, I think just a little bit of an introduction. Dingodile on the Ares, this is what he wants to play. This is his wheelhouse for sure. He's an aggressive player. Cerberus, Ares, Ymir, these are the choices he wants to go to directly for sure.
Yeah, this is going to be his comfort zone, his wheelhouse, so to speak. And what a test right out of the gate here for this Ares, right, with this draft that Splyce have here on the board right away, especially with that Awilix for Scream that could potentially get off to a really hot start. Now, this isn't going to be particularly easy for him. He's also going into Auror's Hercules, too. So if he's as hot on it as we've been led to believe, then we'll certainly see it here.
Yeah, I think the Ares is going to work out against the Hercules. Like I said earlier, one, it's what what Dingodile wants to play, and two, it's going to be a big deal against the Herc, who suffers to cripple a whole lot. So the choice and the player, it's best case scenario here for Dingodile.
I think it is too, and like you said, he's going to have that opportunity right away. Hercules, in particular, Aror's Hercules is really aggressive from minute one. I call him the tightrope walker for a reason. I think the best teams do that in the early game, which means if you can just give him a little bit of a push, you might be able to knock him off and slow him down right out of the gate.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
That's the plan that most teams kind of take into this one, and most teams kind of come up a little bit short. So I'm down to see, maybe it's a 5-game set. I'm down to see LG look for one push there and try to counteract it. If they can't, abandon ship and look for a different strategy. Trying to keep Aror down is a tall task, but it's not impossible, especially if you're playing the Ares. So if you can capitalize here, you get one shot. That's it. Afterwards, I want to see a change if it doesn't work.
Well, we do have a pause here. Looks like there was an issue with one of our players coming into the match, so we're working on that right now to get everyone back into this. But this is still an important game here in the set for both of these teams, but in particularly for Splyce. They're trying to improve their standings as much as they can. That's why this win matters a lot. And then on LG's side, they're trying to move down to that placement week, which they're guaranteed to go to now with as much momentum as possible and trying to get as many reps in as they can at this high level to make sure they're ready. It's going to be a grind down there, even for some of these strong SPL teams. So coming in with as many reps as possible and high quality reps is really going to help.
That's really what I've been saying this whole time here, is that when it comes down to it, this is the best practice you can get. You can talk about scrims, but if you are familiar with scrim culture, if you've talked to any high-level players, it is very different. You get behind at 12 minutes and you restart. You get behind at 7 minutes and you restart. You want to practice 35 minutes in with an 8K gold lead? That doesn't happen, so it's a big deal.
Joshy might be in trouble. Aror making an early rotation, and Joshy has no mobility to help him out here. Looks like not particularly aggressive positioning from CycloneSpin, though, so the call maybe wasn't to look for the kill, especially with how much poke he took. They push Joshy back, but don't even get the beads off that rotation.
Aror's still walking that tightrope, as you said. Really not deterred. Looking for the invade here, and I like this choice coming out from Aror. Again, his entire job is to just stay active. Now, being active does lead to being aggressive most of the time, but his whole job is just be annoying. Make what Luminosity Gaming is trying to do here be a speed bump, essentially. He doesn't have to be a stop sign. He just has to be a speed bump, and Aror has already accomplished that.
That's a good analogy. Yeah, I like that one. Good description. Is Aror will be meeting up with Dingodile, as well as it looks like Snoopy here in the middle lane. No, he thought better of it. They are both level 2 already, Aurora. I don't think you want anything to do with that just yet, so instead he loops back around the safe way and meets up with Venenu, who's on this Merlin pick. Venenu was the one that first showed us this build as hold up. Blink in, things are already getting aggressive, but Dingodile shuts that down with some chains, and everyone falls back. But as I was saying, Venenu was the one that I think first showed us this cooldown boots into the Doom Orb start. Xalia's into trouble and right, but makes it out. But he likes to put the Messenger's Mask in his build second. We'll see if he wants to do that here again on this Merlin, or if maybe he'll just skip right into some pen like we see the other builds do.
It's interesting kind of forgoing Mage's Blessing. I think Mage's Blessing is a great item. It does a ton of damage. It adds a ton of damage to your abilities and obviously provides the MP5. But rushing here, with this, it's a mentality about getting to the mid-game faster. The early game is obviously important, but if you can rush these stats, you're able to gain control in around 10 minutes. You can start making meaningful impacts of mid lane with that 3v3, as opposed to maybe waiting 2 or 3 more minutes when you do have to worry about a whole 2/3 of an item.
It just smooths these curves out so much in terms of the build progression, instead of waiting on what we used to see, which is like the Mage's Blessing into these big sort of stacking items that take forever to get online. It's choose a focus into this Doom Orb, and it can be a bit slow. You're on Cursed Orb for a while, but once you get that finished, you are rocking and rolling. It's a much kind of smoother path out for these mid lane mages. And I think that's why we've seen more brought back to the mid lane, is because of the discovery of sort of this build path that lets them breathe a little bit easier even against these hunters.
Yeah, the reason we saw the switch over from the carries and put the mages in the long lanes, Joshy continues to do so, is because of the fact that having a couple of extra levels of experience is obviously impactful, but also because of the gold, right? When you get solo farm, you're talking both gold and experience. And when you're getting in the mid lane, well, you won't have the experience factor. With this build, it expedites the gold, so that becomes less of an issue, and you are able to, like I said, hit that mid game a little bit earlier. Doom give you 145 power plus then some with the stacks involved. That's a powerful item. And even the 55 that you get from Cursed Orb, that can bridge you over into different worlds, and that creates a much more sustainable sort of early game that you can actually dance with and live with, as opposed to the hunters that rely on their enhance.
LG this time take the Amaterasu into the jungle, and we knew it was going to be something interesting because the Ares and the Jormungandr were also picked, and Xalia's looked really great on the Jorm so far, and Dingodile's signature pick is this Ares, so that means his Amaterasu had to go into the jungle basically as Aror blinks in to catch Snoopy out, but they can't complete the CC chain, but maybe Aror can! He finds the pull, but Snoopy runs right towards his allies, and that's enough to slow down Splyce's push.
And also slow, puts the pillar down as well, preventing any sort of offensive shenanigans from Splyce there. Love the rotation from the team just in case. Luminosity making sure their mid laner isn't alone.
Necessary there because Snoopy was in a whole lot of trouble. That's just part of what Aurora is able to do in this early game. But that's the second time we've seen him threaten one of these carries. It was Joshy in the left lane first, Snoopy here in mid, and neither time did they bite and use the purification beads on that aggression from them. They didn't panic or overcommit. I think a lot of responding to Aurora's aggression here is trying to make sure that you have a calm, even response to this aggression rather than, you know, panicking, giving up too much on the back end. And it's worked for LG insofar as not giving up too many kills, though they are still a bit behind in gold.
Huge point there, and I think that's a big part of talking about practice at this level. When we get down to placement stages, which Luminosity will have to play through, not Splyce so much, and then at Worlds, right? You've got to be able to kind of maintain composure. They say that sports is talk to everybody, they'll give you a different percentage, but X percentage mental, right? And having that cool, calm, collected attitude is so important. Sure, and sometimes it's an X factor. I'll tell you where you can actually see it, hear it. In the comms. If you're panicking, you clutter comms, and that creates a more more haphazard play field where I need to communicate something. It's easier for me to go, I'm being attacked by 2 people and their relics are up, as opposed to screaming and yelling and having people kind of go nuts. I think that composure, like you were talking about, that cool, calm, collected approach is very, very important at this level of play.
We saw a bit of that there from Snoopy. Certainly no slouch or someone who lacks experience. I mean, was in the minor league for a while, comes up to LG, a team that had been struggling all year long. And I think it's easy with all that stuff around him to kind of forget just what a high-level player that this guy is, and Snoopy's been showing it here in Phase 2.
Yeah, in the minor league for no reason other than there just wasn't a spot. Yeah. And as I see Lasbra put in the middle lane, maybe there was a spot and people were just looking in the wrong places. I'm a little salty that Snoopy had to sit down there in the minor league. Snoopy not only plays at a fantastic level, but also has the heart and drive, and some people don't want to hear me get on that soapbox, but I will. Absolutely. Snoopy's the guy, man. We love this dude, and he loves the league. To see him deprived of it and put down the minor league, it was unfair. I don't want to see the pro league without Snoopy ever again.
Snoopy has made his way back up here now, has certainly made a name for himself. Not on that set pick that he made the highlights with back at MSI, but I think Anhur in the mid-game can certainly still be something that's within Snoopy's wheelhouse, as they're only down about 800 gold here right now, just off of some better farming here from Splyce in this early game. Certainly this is one within striking distance, and I think that as much as we talked about Snoopy, there is going to be a lot on Dingodile's shoulders here with this Ares pick to really make it work once you start getting into these mid-lane scuffles, especially these 3v3s that we see break out a lot nowadays.
The individual prowess of Luminosity Gaming is going to make the early stages of these 3 games going to seem a little bit less... they won't be representative of what we see later on in the matches. The individual players here, Xaliea versus SoloOrTroll, it's actually a really interesting matchup, and I implore you to ask me about it later. Could beat some Snoopy there. But Lasbra Scream in the jungle, another nice matchup. Snoopy, Venenu in the mid lane, another nice matchup. Joshy, CycloneSpin, sure, everybody can do their job. When it comes to team fight time, Aror versus Dingo, Aror is better than this stand-in. That is just the facts. And when it comes to team fight time, that will be evident. Here in the early game, we don't really have to look at it. We don't really have to see it. Luminosity is specifically staying away from the 3v3 in the mid lane, and that's important. That's allowing them to keep pace. They're only down about 600 gold here. And and really that play is because they've been avoiding the 3v3.
Oh, Joshy threads the needle there, but Aurora still lurking over the wall. Has Blink too. but gives up on it, not going to try and do any crazy blink plays underneath the tier 1 tower. But, I mean, if you're going to have to sub in into a tough spot like this, I mean, there's harder games to do it in. LG don't have a ton riding on this for their future, right? I mean, it's obviously an important game, but it's not going to affect them too much in terms of where they are in placement week and what their path to Worlds looks like. This is a good chance, I think, for Dingodile to come in and show that he can play well without too much pressure on his shoulders.
True. I think Dingodile has absolutely nothing to lose here.
Right.
If I'm Luminosity, a fan, I am upset that we are losing valuable practice.
Right.
And I'm hoping that my individual players can focus heavily.
SoloOrTroll in some early trouble. 3 members of LG here to say hello. The changer there from Dingodile, but Glad Shield plus Reinforced Greaves is a pretty strong combo. Now Joshy's the one getting hit by the boulder. Double tap is avoided, and Aror can't quite close the gap. Joshy makes it out of there.
Joshy makes it out of there and looks over his shoulder like, yep, not a care in the world. Knew what was going on there. Joshy kind of smoothly getting out. And Aror again, he's jungle too. When Aror gets a chance to play Hercules, he's a jungler that doesn't care about his farm. When you look at junglers, a lot of the times they go, I would gank, but I need to kill his camp. I'm losing experience if I try to gank. Aror doesn't have that mentality because he goes, I'm support, I don't really need the farm.
And there's really not much farm for him. No ultimate, so Aror will get pulled. First blood still on the table, but Aror makes out of there with the Sanctified Field from Cyclone. But Lasbra still wants more. He isn't able to get the stun. CycloneSpin has speed. CycloneSpin has first blood as the Amaterasu jungle takes a seat.
Rough spot there. Snoopy's going to fall down as well. Double kill for CycloneSpin.
Hold on.
Joshy around the corner might have an opportunity.
Yeah, because Xaliea wants a little bit more. He's gone into the ultimate. CycloneSpin doesn't really have any ways to reposition. Joshy does finally find the kill. That makes it 2 for 1. In fact, Dingodile finds his first kill here at the SPL level by shutting down Screammmmm. Suddenly it's 2-2.
That was a good force there from Luminosity, and this is what you expect. Rookie mistake there. Great force to keep that going forward. We see the double kill coming out of CycloneSpin, and that's all well and good. I think a lot of teams retreat there. Luminosity Gaming almost make the wrong decision in forcing it, but because Xaliea has made over, it becomes the correct decision, and they're allowed to kind of answer back a little bit. Dingodile obviously overstays his welcome and dies poorly to the late rotation from the King Arthur and SOT, but like I said, that's no excuses, no Johns, but if you're stepping in, that's something you've got to expect.
And that fight does obviously come out in favor of Splyce just numerically, right? Because they got 3 for 2,
yes.
But they also got first blood, and they put the kills possibly into more valuable spots. 2 for CycloneSpin on this Olorun, who wants to take the late game as soon as possible, and then 1 for SOT on this King Arthur without a death either. So not too bad at all, really, for Splyce in that engagement. Maybe make an argument about losing Screammmmm there, hurting his farm, and he'd be right, but I do think that Splyce came out of there not just with more kills, but in pretty valuable spots.
I don't mind the kill onto the Ares. I think Dingodile needs a little bit of help there in order to stay relevant as the Ares. If you fall behind, you are just not useful. And so I don't mind the kill going to the support player there in that case. I think it works out here for LG.
Not looking too bad, as it looks like Venenu is indeed going to be going with this Messenger's Mask start for him. He just has the tier 1 of the mask now, but he'll very likely just be leaving it at the tier 2, the Messenger's level, once he gets it there, and then building into Pen beyond that. We've even seen him in the late game sell that Messenger's Mask once he starts getting to that 6th item, and then find a little bit of a boost there. So he kind of treats this as like a mid-game boost.
Oh, beautiful play from Dingo right there. That was fantastic. Aror coming around from the left side of the mid lane, coming around, has the driving strike in his brain. In fact, he casts it, and Dingo 180 whips the chain, catches the cripple mid-dash. That stops the double stun, which inevitably would have been at least a kill, if not a double kill, and then a Gold Fury. You see how Splyce was already set up there? Love the play.
They're not going to get out with their hands clean, though. CycloneSpin ends up finding Dingodile off Auror's setup. Lasbra responds. Final Judgment hits just about everybody, but it ain't enough. Venenu finds Joshy. Lasbra gets a 2-man stun, but Aror got the pull before the stun. That sets up the double for Venenu, and 4 for 1 in favor of Splyce. They're going to head right over to the Gold Fury.
That's what makes Splyce tough to play against the defending world champions. They will get outplayed once and then immediately immediately, what was that, 10 seconds later, find the outplay on the other side. This was Luminosity Gaming making a great play and then spreading out, expecting it to almost be a mandatory wait time between plays. LG cuts that off, great play from Dingodile, and they spread, and Splyce take advantage of the fact that Splyce are still moved up and Luminosity have walked in opposite directions, one by one by one. They take down the opposition, and then they get the objective. Beautiful.
And look at that objective burn, too. I mean, the Merlin and the Olorun working together, they made quick work of that Gold Fury. And this is what I mean by the tightrope walking, too. I mean, I doubt anywhere in the plays that you draw up is there a pull mid dazzling offensive stun that's part of that equation, and Aurora is able to find it. It's these small things that they always get to fall their way on the backs of being in the right spot, this individual skill that they have that takes them to that sort of next level that makes Splyce such a scary team.
It really is. And it's not even like luck or haphazard. I'm not trying to say that you're attributing what Aurora does to luck. It's just when it happens so consistently.
Sure.
It is so scary. I mean, Aurora just, it's at the point where I think I asked this a couple of weeks ago, and I already knew the answer. I think Hercules is a must-ban versus Splyce.
Sure.
And I understand that Persephone and Set and blah, 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 blah. Oh, man. The Hercules sets up so much stuff, and it's unpunishable, it feels like.
Yeah, there's such a level of comfort from Aurora in this pick that it's like you almost want to just not let him have that and force him to play other picks. He has shown, though, that he can be just as difficult to deal with on things like the Horus, so it can be tough. And I think kind of what I was alluding to with the tightrope walking is that there is some failure with this Hercules pick that we don't always get to see. Sometimes the SPLL level, he does get punished. Sometimes, behind the scenes, when they're in their, their scrim matches, it gets punished too. So other teams know it doesn't work 100% of the time. You definitely can beat it. It's just that when it's on, I don't think there's anything that's quite as on as Aurora's Hercules, man. It's game-changing.
It absolutely is. I love the terminology game-changing because that's exactly where you're at. You have to play differently. You can't approach this red buff invade at all. Lasbra and Dingodile are left out watching. So SoloOrTroll's pushing.
And Snoopy avoids getting hit by the driving strike, but not by SoloOrTroll, who follows up with that Excalibur's Wrath. The boulder comes through, and SoloOrTroll finds a critical kill. Lasbra does stun one, but with Venenu now here to provide the much-needed magical damage, LG have to fall back. Scream even waiting in the wings. This should be a tier 1, and maybe even more as they pull in Dingodile.
What are you supposed to do here? Xaliea around the backline might be a big deal, but the tier 1 tower already down.
Tier 1 tower is down. Xaliea is inside that World Serpent, but this is defensive as Lasbra needs some backup. Does get that dash off. SoloOrTroll can't find the hamstring in time, and now he has a chance in the same spot to maybe mirror Variety's big play from earlier on. It's a lot different, but SoloOrTroll's up against 3 and just trying to fight to get his way out of here during the cripple. Meanwhile, the rest of the team, hello, we'll just take an FG.
Yeah, they're on Fire Giant. SoloOrTroll is doing a beautiful job at just zoning players out. What are you supposed to do? LG take the bait, they look for it, they can find the Fire Giant, and Splyce at 16 minutes. That's dirty.
Find themselves a Fire Giant. LG, though, recognizing that there was a bit of a mistake there, now want to push forward and try and find a way to punish Splyce on the back end. Joshy adeptly avoids getting pulled back in by Aurora's pull, but who's going to do something about Scream on the right-hand side? Lasbra's dashing into enemy territory, but has the blink, able to get back out of there, no problem.
Right now, I think this is Splyce just being able to zoom past on the jet. They've got the Fire Giant. Normally, I'd ask for a retreat, a refresh, a rebuy, but they're able to kind of just push out Luminosity. It's not even that large of a lead. It's just this swing right now in this mid-game. I love the way that they've been able to take their fights and push it onto the objectives, but after the fact, now, this is the part where it gets really scary for LG because I think this is their last shot in this game, number 1.
It is starting to get to the point where it might be a bit out of reach. This draft from them does feel like it has some mid-game leanings, though Amaterasu and Thoth are always going to be relevant late. Joshy, in some trouble, has already dashed and gets away from the boulder, so Splyce stopped the push. But what's really scary to me if I'm on LG is that Scream has been relatively quiet, I would say. He's bottom on his team in terms of player damage and has 5 assists. That's certainly good, but Scream usually runs early games on everything he picks. I think that if you're LG and they're doing this with the other 4, that's pretty scary.
It's just a game where Scream has not even needed to get involved.
They haven't called his number.
And what's interesting is that a lot of what Scream has been doing has been relevant off of ball, so to speak. He's getting the pressure on the opposite side lanes so that the rest of his team can push forward. What we saw out of SoloOrTroll zoning the players so the team can Fire Giant, that's what Scream did in a more abstract way in the early stages.
And it's only relatively quiet, right? Hopefully, to everyone listening, when we talk about these teams, it's all relative to within the SPL, right? So Scream normally has such monster early game starts that a good 0-1-5 is only relatively quiet here for him. This tier 2 tower comes tumbling down in mid, and suddenly LG have to switch on their defensive positioning, but how can you? Frenzy has been popped, Aror blinks right to the back line. There's the Sanctified Field. Xaliea won't even get the ultimate off in time. The Jormungandr worm has already been extinguished, and now they're going to be able to melt the mid Phoenix as well. Joshy isolated away in the back by SOT. He never even got to be in that fight.
Fight, 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 fight. This is where I want to see Arena play. Just stand. All of your players are healthy. All of your players have healing, and the fire, just fight. You can just brawl here. Usually the wrong choice, but right now you're up 11,000 Fire Giant in hand. Brawl until you win the game.
And they certainly are going to. Went back to clear the minion wave, and now they're ready to look for action. Aror taking quite a bit of poke here underneath the mid Phoenix, but now that minions are in, this Phoenix is coming down. Lasbra heads to the backline with the dazzling offensive. It does stun CycloneSpin, but Scream has removed the Anhur away in the backline. Snoopy gonna have to watch through black and white. This game so far has belonged entirely to Splyce.
I like how Splyce, I'm demanding them to brawl it out because I am not their coach. Kebab is sitting in the room. Kebab is sitting in the coach room going, no, you idiot, play it correctly. And this is why Splyce are so successful. Because even in this moment, I maintain that they could have just fought arena style the way you do in your silver level ranked games until the Titan goes down. I think they absolutely could have done that. But the correct play is to fall back, get the Oni Fury, let the waves push up with the Oni minions, take care of the two towers on the right. They are doing the fundamentals correct, and this is what makes Splyce a world championship team. This is what has allowed them to find victories in the regular season, in the postseason, and on the world stage, is the fact that it doesn't matter if they're playing one of the lower end teams with a substitute in a garbage time game. It is all about doing it correctly, and the fact that they never deviate from the mentality is what makes them so damn strong and so damn consistent.
I think, yeah, towards the end of the year, man, being able to win the matches that you're favored in cleanly is so important for your momentum moving into these last few matches. I mean, Splyce still have a good bit of matches to play out here, so this is not going to be the end for them either way. But like you said, they're practicing the way they plan to play on the world stage, this exact same way, and I think it's going to serve them well as Frenzy now popped. They're ready to move in.
Practice how you perform. Splyce are doing just that.
Xaliea goes into the ultimate. Venenu, who's low in the back line. That's huge that they're able to find him early. Snoopy's low, but he's still surviving for now. But SOT finally able to hunt him down, find one more kill. Xaliea stuck in the Sanctified Field. He recognized he had no way out of that one either. Even with losing Venenu, Splyce still in control.
4 players ready to go. Only 3 players on the opposite end. Dingodile surrounded. He'll fall down. SOT with the kill. And Lasbra on the run as well.
Scream gonna try and chase down Lasbra way in the back line. CycloneSpin gets the last Phoenix that they need, and that just leaves Joshy on the Thoth to try and defend up against 3 members plus a Fire Minion wave. It's just not gonna happen. Titans below half HP, and Splyce have taken game 1 over LG.
22 minutes of play, systematic. This is what you sign up for when you grab yourself a Splyce jersey and call yourself a fan of this squad. Venenu is sitting there like, yep, that's just what we do, man. And Aror is ready to play game 2.
Dude,
I mean,
he is like this, dude. And it's very clear with Aror because such a boisterous personality.
Yes.
But he gets very locked in on game day. And like I said, you can tell that because when you talk to him so often. So he's locked in.
That wasn't a replay, by the way. That was live, him looking at the post-game stats. They won in 22 minutes, and he's searching for a conversation. Again, practice how you perform. This team knows that they did well. They're obviously very happy about it. I'm not saying you need to be all business all the time, but their approach to the game, even in these later stage games, are what makes this team so damn good.
And as is so often the case up against Splyce, if you're going to beat this team, you have to find a way to slow them down early, in particular Aror on this Hercules. I don't know if that's banning it or picking something that can fight him a little bit better in the early game, but either way, it's LG that got to figure it out.
Alienware, the official PC provider of the SMITE Pro League.
Welcome back to the SMITE Pro League, everybody. Game 1, you give Aror the Hercules, you give Cyclone the Olorun. It's going to go that way. Splyce dominate in Game 1. Aggro joined by Zeros here on the desk. I mean, I don't know, man. Dingodile played okay, but I think we see what happens when you don't have your 3v3 core intact. My man Snoopy got just handled that game.
Yeah, when Splyce was sieged in the left Phoenix, Aror was level 16, and he's level 12 on the Honor. That's not a spot you want to be in most of the time.
I say it all the time on cast. The least fun moments for all mid laners is when you press tab and you realize that the enemy support is the same level as you. I instantly want to leave the game every time.
And if it's 4 levels up on you, then
I have already left the game.
Uninstall the game, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, seriously, it is not a good spot. CycloneSpin started it off early with that double kill, and he kept it rolling on this Olorun, man. I mean, the early picks of Amaterasu and the Jormungandr are there to shut him down, but it just didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, they were losing everywhere. Like, I think Joshy was doing fine for a while on the Thoth. He kind of kept up with Cyclone, and Xaliea kept up in farm with SoloOrTroll for the most part, but it just wasn't enough. That
pull by Aror is nuts, and you will see that on top 5 plays this week. Pre-planning the knock-up for while he's getting stunned, it's still going to travel. That is insanity. And then, like, what is Snoopy supposed to do here, man? He does literal no damage to anybody. And how could he? He's level 12.
Yeah.
It's messed up.
This was pretty much when I played Honor mid on PK. This was pretty much what happened. And then play Honor is pretty good. And I'm like, okay, dude.
All right, if they're going to be this big, I don't know. Snoopy got counterpicked with the Awilix as well. Scream did what we thought, kept the pace going in the early game. Aror, he should play another god at some point, right? Like, he clearly has too much fun on this god. He ruins people with it.
Yeah, it just needs to get banned. I feel like you can't play against it. It's too big of a risk, I feel like, because if he gets going early game, he can just run the game. You never want the enemy support to be able to run the game, because that's never a good look for anyone. So I feel like it's just a must ban against Splyce.
And that's crazy to think that, I mean, Hercules is a good character. Other people will play him, but not all the time by any stretch. But to have a god like that be a must ban against you is such a strong point for your squad. And Splyce looking strong there in Game 1. Dingodile, first performance in the SPL, I thought did okay, but he's up against a very tough roster here in Splyce.
Yeah, I mean, he played the Ares into the Herc as well. Like, sure, you can cripple him, so he can't use his one, but you still can't fight into it. Like, it's just, they were just losing everywhere, and it's like no momentum at any point in this game, honestly, for LG.
Did have a really nice chain on Scream in the mid lane, blinked in, chained him right away, so he couldn't use Feather Step. So making plays for sure, but we'll see if they can make a little bit more. Ready for picks and bans here for game number 2. Splyce in first pick again, and I feel like Splyce, you should just be taking first pick against Splyce, it feels like, because then you can at least ban Hercules and not feel bad about it.
Such an advantage for Splyce in draft, though, if you think about it. Like, Venenu and Cyclone, or like anyone on the team, will get their favorite, like, kind of OP characters a lot more, because you have to ban Herc against Aror, right? That leaves one more god on the table that you can't respect ban against them. It's so good to have players like that on your team, where there's gods where you have to ban, because if they get it, they're probably going to win, right? So.
Who are some other ones in the league right now? Because I feel like Aror with Hercules is probably the biggest, like, you have to ban this god for this guy every game that we have in the SPL right now.
I guess Moswal a bit with the Merlin and Thoth, even though I guess they don't pick Thoth anyway, so maybe not ban Thoth. But like I think he's kind of like that, where he's so good at Merlin and Thoth, like you kind of want to get rid of that. But I guess you kind of can play against it more so than you can play against Aror Herc.
Feels that way. I mean, feels unstoppable, but no ban over this time around. LG and Stan banned the Olorun, so that is a bit of a switch up. And it's going to be Merlin first pick here for Splyce. LG has shown that they won't necessarily take the Hercules away. Dingodile, can he play that pick? I think it's something that you're asking him right now and seeing if he can be comfortable on it. The Yorm for Xaliea, you mentioned it matched the farm okay, but then couldn't match in the late game. Of course, you can't when the whole team is so far ahead. I think Yorm Amy is still fine to go, but this time I want to see Amaterasu for Dingodile in support.
Yeah, for sure. I just don't like Amy jungle that much.
Me neither.
I haven't seen it work any time in the jungle so far in this SPL, so kind of weird though. They leave it open here, which I don't like either. I'm not sure Splyce plays. Actually, I'm pretty sure SoloOrTroll plays it.
He also plays the Thor, which they get for him right here. I think that you just go Thor Hercules here and call it a day. I mean, you're feeling pretty comfortable with those two, and no reason to kind of vary from that whatsoever. Now at least Joshy will be safe enough on the Jingwei.
Yeah, exactly. You can dash his the Herc too, so that's a good, but still.
You will feel my
I just wouldn't want to see Aror on Herc if I played against him, so I don't know.
Never ever, as far as I'm concerned. Fafnir locked in here for Dingodile. Going to try and make that work for him in the support role, get a little bit of extra attack speed. This signals to me that we might see a double hunter composition here for Luminosity. You know Snoopy can usually play those pretty well, but I think that they need something that can actually kill the Hercules in the early game. And if you go double hunter and let him stack physical defense, then it's going to be pretty difficult to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I do like Fafnir Jing though. There's such a good CC comp. Like the Fafnir stun into Jingwei knockup is so easy to execute, and it's such a long CC. And you can get, like, even with double ADC, you get a lot of auto attacks in that time. So
it's guaranteed damage for sure if you can get that CC chain going. Susano for Lasbra. Going to try and make life difficult for Venenu on that Merlin. Pele confirms what we should have already known, that Thor is going solo lane for SoloOrTroll. And what's up?
Kukulkan ADC, I would assume.
I would also assume. No, I don't know. Cyclone played a lot of Merlin back in the day. Maybe you give this over to give the Merlin over. How do you feel about? I mean, Kukulkan's getting a big buff.
Yeah, but not in this patch.
No, not in this
patch.
Right?
So
they know that, I hope, because they're going to be sorely mistaken.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I played a bit of Kukulkan even after buffs, and I still feel like he's just not a good god in my opinion. Like, I want him to be. Actually, I kind of don't, but a little bit. But just not good. But I mean, you can probably make it work. They don't have that much setup for his ult here though, so we'll
they do not. I mean, Thor stuns can make it work. I mean, a Thor full dunk combo can do it. I'm curious, man. I don't know. I mean, I hope they know what patch they're playing on, because that Kukulkan is not buffed. Buffed Kukulkan, I do think we will see, though.
Yeah.
I think he's a lot better.
Yeah, it is.
That extra tick, man, it's such a big deal. It helps you clear.
It is, but it's just so easy to dive. And, like, he dies so bad. I don't know, it's just a little snake running around. What are you going to do? Well,
a little snake for Splyce's logo has done pretty well for them so far. The defending champs up against LG. Game 2 starting now.
I love the idea of the Kukulkan getting locked in and Zero's actually laughing. But I think Splyce will have a chance here to show us just how well this can look. But LG doing a very similar draft to what we saw from Rival earlier today. This is that double hunter composition. Joshy on the Jingwei, Snoopy on the Ho Yi, and then you have plenty of magical damage from Xaliea on this Jormungandr. I think this comp can work if you give him too much time around some objectives.
I agree. I agree there. I think objectives is certainly something that you're going to be looking at a whole lot, but you've got to get there first.
Right.
And winning those team fights to get there is going to be the uphill battle.
Yeah, Splyce are not going to make it easy for you. SoloOrTroll is on his Thor, Screammmmm on the Pele, Aror on Hercules. It kind of feels like those three really got signature picks for them here in this draft, so that's going to be really tough to deal with. Meanwhile, Venenu and CycloneSpin flexing a bit outside of what I would describe as their traditional god pools with the Merlin and the Kukulkan, as Aror does indeed strip the speed buff away, and life just gets harder.
I mean, what do you do? Like, I tell you what you do. You slam your keyboard. You know,
well, a lot of people don't start speed because of that, right?
Yeah.
You go somewhere else. I mean, there are things you can do, but, I mean, Auror's going to keep doing that if you let him.
I was halfway. I know Aror has the driving strike. I was halfway expecting the Earthbreaker.
I know what you mean. CycloneSpin, though, in trouble. Snoopy finds first blood for LG. That's a way better start this time. A little bit of help from Joshy here on the left-hand side, and they find themselves a kill.
I mean, again, what do you expect on the other side when Aurora's not there to protect you? Your dual lane left alone. That said, I don't think Splyce are too concerned. SoloOrTroll operating on the right side of the map is going to be a big part of this game.
Well, they did know where Lasbra was, right? It's like, how often do you expect it to be Snoopy doing the rotation? So maybe that catches them a bit off guard as Snoopy does defend his own red buff and get on out of dodge.
I think really, you brought up a great point how earlier in the set, game number 1, just 22 minutes of play, Scream was quiet because he didn't have to really make any noise. SoloOrTroll makes one rotation that kind of does the whole damn thing. Aurora, by the way, continuing to be this guy. SoloOrTroll and Scream are probably going to be pivotal in this matchup.
Yeah.
With the Pele and the Thor. So that kill on the left side, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but I mean, look at Aurora.
I do think there is a chance that that might be the least impactful kill they could have gotten. I think I could be persuaded by that argument. I mean, maybe an early kill on the SoloOrTroll. Those are the two, but this 3v3 is really where so much of the meta is determined nowadays. A lot of the times, hunters and solo laners kind of just watch the game get decided sometimes. So I do think you're right. It's a nice kill, but if you're Splyce, you're definitely not too worried.
CycloneSpin on the Merlin versus the Jing. I mean, anytime you can help the Jing out, sure, because Jing can kind of deal with being on the backside. Again, it's all about this right side of the map, though. Aurora, okay, good. I would have been mad. I would have been mad for Lasbra.
That was close. I think, Aurora didn't know the way that we did that it was getting whittled down. If he'd come around the corner ready to driving strike, I think he could have gotten it, but obviously he had to get there and assess the situation and everything and didn't quite have the timing.
For Luminosity Gaming, I think you want to take this and run with this. This is a great moment. You've got that first blood bounty, and you've already given up a little bit of it because Aurora has been able to invade you successfully, and push Snoopy to the back line. And oh no, is this it for Snoopy?
Yeah, Snoopy's just having to try and trade. I don't know if Dive Bomb was
Nice
used or if
play.
he doesn't even have it, but Lasbra's here to try and even things up. Venenu moves forward and finds the kill. Aurora avoids enough shots to stay alive, but Lasbra's low, but Venenu has the wrong read on where to go with the Whirlwind and can't quite find the Zephyr either, so he can't get the kill.
No mana! Venenu could have hit the sneeze, Zephyr, excuse me, could have hit it, but just did not have the mana. Wonderful play, and that will change. We were talking on the desk, the girls was like, I don't know how good this pick is. I don't know how good this pick is what I just said for those that couldn't, speak.
Yeah, you did that totally accurate Zeros impression, apparently. Yeah, that's what was happening just now.
I think characters can be transformed based on the player that's playing them, obviously. I'm not saying Venenu's Kukulkan is a #1 top pick, top ban, but I think it's absolutely the skill set that we just saw there, bobbing and weaving with the basic attacks, I think will be a big deal. Give this guy some mana, and that's a triple kill, so I'm down. I'm here for it.
He's a good deal ahead of Snoopy right now, too. It looks like he has been going the Book of Thoth start, which makes a ton of sense. It's such a core item for Kukulkan, or Kukulkan, or however I'm supposed to say it nowadays.
Kukulkan!
So if that is what he sounds like, if that's the play here from Venenu in the middle lane, it's slow, but he won't have any mana issue. It's going to be a ton of power. You're right. I mean, we won't see many more situations like that where he's at a want for another ability to cast.
Aurora still looking for these
Almost.
invades. Close, but not going to be the case here. Still here for it, though, because he is still keeping the enemy down. Lasbra only level 4, comparatively speaking to Scream's level 5. And again, nice jump from Snoopy.
And to use the beads to be able to get that dive bomb off, but a worthwhile trade against what would have been certain death otherwise with that big ultimate from Venenu screaming down at him.
Screaming down. We'll see if Scream.
That's
gonna be really dirty when you see a roar push into a knockup, into a slow, there's not a lot of strong CC to just say, here, this is where you con ult, like Zero's mentioned, but there is a lot of this hard to execute ground control. And if it's Splyce, I don't care how hard it is to execute.
Right.
I expect the execution.
this is a team that can do enough lockdown, especially once SOT gets involved. I think in this early to mid game, yeah, you can make the argument that maybe the execution ceiling's pretty high. But once this Thor wall and the dunk are in the equation, it should be a much more consistent combination, I think, for Venenu to be able to land these ults. And if he's doing it on objectives for secure, then that won't matter as much anyway, as CycloneSpin's going to need to keep on running.
Ooh, it's going to be tough, though. The pull's good, not going strong. CycloneSpin looking for the turnaround off screen. Mid lane gets one.
And Lasbra's backing. He's done with this fight. CycloneSpin to keep running, and Joshy can't chase. Good looks. CycloneSpin survives that gank.
Absurd.
That is something that CycloneSpin brings, as we like to say around here.
That's the something he brang. I mean, that's absurd. You shouldn't get out of that.
No.
Now, is that a misplay from Lasbra or a fantastic play from CycloneSpin? The answer is yes. I think that Lasbra probably can maneuver his way a little bit around the right side, but CycloneSpin just plays fantastically.
And this is the kind of thing, like we said, CycloneSpin does all the time. Probably from his solo lane roots, he's used to getting ganked over there with no backup. But let's go back and take a look if we can't. Well, we actually might need to hold off. This blue buff fight could be big. Too late, I called for it, so I'm getting it. Venenu gets this solo kill here in the middle lane. Or not solo kill, but the kill off screen we couldn't see.
So here's going to be the come in from Scream, and there's that ultimate. Doesn't have the dive bomb that time. Venenu just lines it up, and that's one of the nice things as the blue buff has walked away from it.
Wow, we get to go right back into it. That's not a replay. That's another Hercules setup into the Venenu ultimate from this Kukulkan. Doesn't quite find the kill this time, but I think on the replay we saw Venenu hit the pull, and so there was no way for Snoopy to do the dive bomb. Or not Venenu, but Aror hit the pull.
And also, Venenu does very well there, making sure to play against the wall, knowing that the player simply can't move right. So they're hit because of no other option.
Yeah, you can kind of cheat your placement on the ultimate a little bit when you know that their path is cut off when you're playing that Kukulkan. So that's exactly what we saw Venenu doing there. And so you're already seeing that Venenu's being active early with this Kukulkan. He is not too worried, it seems like, about being able to consistently land it.
Yeah, not at all. I think it's when you're playing a character like this, it's all about confidence and your ability to just let it rip. And you are going to miss some ultimates. Thor, you can't miss an ultimate, and it will impact the team fight, and you will look bad, and it will impact the game. When you're playing Kukulkan, you've got to be freewheeler with it. You just got to let it rip. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. You need to be positive on your hit conversion for sure.
Snoopy has been under constant duress with this, and I kind of like this idea from Ven.
That's the ult I'm talking about. You got to let that fly.
And Aror continuing to be aggressive. Joshy had to use the airstrike defensively. And I guess Aror doesn't care so much that he's on the Chaos side of the map right now, almost near their Phoenix here at this point. He is aggressive and looking for more opportunities. I think they want to make the use of the most they can out of SoloOrTroll's rotation.
You ever play laser tag as a kid?
Yeah.
Aror, when he plays his Hercules invade strategy as Joshy just gets walked down. Oh my goodness.
Pretty brutal.
Auror's the kid that takes the vest off and drags it around on the enemy side. He goes, shoot me, you can't. You can't hit me, and just deals with people in their own base.
I didn't grow up with as many rule breakers as you, Tom. We wore our vests proudly and accepted our shots.
Yeah, Aurora's like, you can't do anything about this. Like, just shooting the kid. The kid's like, wait, what did I do?
And Aror sets up for that kill on Joshy too, or not Aror, but they chased that airstrike out on the left-hand side earlier on. And so that's why Aurora's aggressive on the left-hand side. It's the kind of thing he does all the time, where his initial go-around, he will take the kill if it's there, but he's happily taking beads, taking, you know, your ultimates if you have to use those or CC immunity, because he will be back for that second helping of trying to get a kill on.
This is that second helping. Joshy just came back, and Aurora goes, no. Look at him. Look at him. Aurora's player cam. Look at him. He's happy as a pig in mud, man. This is what he wants to do. He doesn't care if he's level 0.
And Snoopy doesn't have beads this time. The ultimate a little bit. Oh no! All forgiven when Venenu gets in that close and finds the Zephyr. And that's what I'm talking about again. They took the beads from Snoopy a minute and a half ago and are now back here again to punish.
Venenu gets the knockout with his left hand after joking with the right. I mean, that's a beautiful play there, understanding where the options are for the opposition.
And this time, Venenu doesn't realize how much trouble he's in. The stealth from Jormungandr coming up big, but Scream wants to try and make Lasbra pay in the 1v3. Doesn't quite have the damage to get all the way through to Lasbra, so the Susano lives. But a nice play from Scream to at least push them back.
If this wasn't the Pro League, I'd say VF3, 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 where is solo lane? You know, I assume SoloOrTroll had mentioned something, but that definitely looked like a lack of communication. I don't think Venenu expected Xaliea there.
It certainly didn't look like it. A CycloneSpin catches Joshy, trying to back and uses the ultimate transformation for extra damage. Joshy falls yet again. It has been a rough game for these two carries. Snoopy and Joshy have been under constant duress.
You know, it's funny. I said that Scream would be a big part of this game.
Yeah.
Him and SoloOrTroll. It's been CycloneSpin, the one that's doing it. For what it's worth, CycloneSpin was also kind of quiet last game.
Yeah, CycloneSpin also got first blooded this game, right? And then he was like, yeah, I guess I'll just carry. That's fine.
I mean, that is true.
Great wall.
Well, Xalia's got ultimate, no problem.
Yeah, they force it with that sick wall. That's pretty nice there from SOT.
CycloneSpin in this situation is the guy that goes, "Oh no, you've made me bleed my own blood," and fixes his glasses with
Some kind of anime line,
with the
I
sun
suppose.
glare, you know, like first blood, you'll be last blood.
We got to get you watching some more anime, man. You don't have enough lines ready. You got to get real corny for some anime lines, especially those English dubs.
That's the end of my anime. The next one has something to do with Pikachu, so you know I'm totally like out to left field.
Yeah, Death Note's all one-liners. We'll get in there. We'll check it out.
With William Dafoe.
He is in the awful Netflix movie, which I refuse to acknowledge.
So
yes.
in the animated version, is he William Defriend?
This is awful what's happening right now. Quit this. We have a great match going on. We could talk about this and not awful puns about how Willem Dafoe's name has foe in it. He was Ryuk, a great character. I mean, he did a good Ryuk. I don't hate it. It's just the movie wasn't good.
Splyce
This game, Gold Fury, yes.
Splyce continue to just take what they want. 12 minutes in, this red buff's mine, this gold fury's mine. It's not even a large gold lead, Finch. Really what's allowing them to do this is the threat of SoloOrTroll and the pressure that Aror has given them all over the map.
Wow, you not saying threat of activation there is huge. SoloOrTroll is still around 4 different members, and he will pay for it summarily, gets caught out. Venenu, I think, recognized they were grouped a little bit late on that ultimate, and as such, LG get the pick without giving up too much, but Gold Fury's already been taken as they head over towards Pyro.
I've hit my limit on threat of activation. I think I actually have to pay Marshall Sutcliffe if I say it. But in my defense, that wasn't a situation where it was relevant. I'm sure I'll say it in the set.
That makes more sense then. All right, I'm on board as Aror lurks nearby. LG do at the very least find a Pyromancer, and you make a great point when you talk about how this game's really not that far out of reach.
Yeah.
It just feels like it because of what Splyce has done. I think what is kind of missing, though, is experience. Can you bring up the graphs for us, Doug? They have really put those two carries behind. 4,000 experience despite the 2,000 gold, and that's mostly on Snoopy and Joshy.
And again, wherever it is, I think a large part of that has to do with Aror. Aror is making it so that Luminosity are uncomfortable wherever they are on the map. There's just no spot where they can walk where they want to.
CycloneSpin finds yet another solo kill into Joshy underneath the tier 1 tower, taking it upon himself to try and let these mid-mages know they're not all that. Merlin's just good, you know, that's all it is.
3 levels. 3 levels separate the two characters.
That's a ton.
That is, I've been talking about how a lot of this game is the pulley system, right? You provide pressure over here, and that impacts this part of the map. You invade the red buff, and that affects the mid lane. You invade the right side, that affects... Nah, CycloneSpin is just bringing it to Josh.
Yeah, he's been playing very well on the left-hand side. It's the experience difference, like we said. I mean, and that's being accelerated, I think, by this very active Aror, and SoloOrTroll has rotated a lot on this Thor as well, too. It's been a very active game from those two frontliners.
That's kind of what I was saying before, is that Aror and SoloOrTroll, the threat of the Thor coming through has been a big deal. But Aror, you can talk about the pressure provided from Aror has kept Dingodile out of that lane for sure. But CycloneSpin has just, I will give it to him single-handedly, taken down Joshy time and time again. And, you know, it's 3-1-0 versus 0-3-1. That's the dual lane, right? So
right.
I'm here for it. I love it.
Splyce, things have calmed down just a little bit. No Gold Fury, no Pyromancer, nothing really worth doing too much fighting over right this moment. Instead, this is kind of the prep phase for Splyce, where they're trying to set up for a good fight, as Aror might be in some trouble, but avoids.
Not at all. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Even for the smaller objectives, Auror's team is able to get the left side mid-Furies because Aror is here threatening 1v4. Like, there's nothing Aror can do, but I mean, frankly, there's nothing Luminosity can do to walk past him, so Splyce get Furies uncontested.
Xaliea makes another sneaky rotation to the middle lane, but this time it's Aror he finds to knock up instead of Venenu on the Kukulkan, so nowhere near as much value. Tier 1 tower on the left-hand side comes tumbling down as well as Joshy. This is the official losing lane, right? Is when your tower goes down first. Doesn't matter about anything else. It's who loses their tower.
Yeah, CycloneSpin wins the lane. That's it. It's over. It's game. All right, see you later.
That's an old joke. Is it funny anymore? Have I ever let that stop me? Those are all the questions really.
It's an old joke, sir, but it checks out.
It checks out. No, I've not ever let whether or not a joke's funny prevent me from saying it before. Not one time.
That's true.
Yeah, you can vouch for that.
Everybody that listens to the Green Room podcast can attest to that.
Wait, come on. That's high quality stuff there as Aror.
Oh, okay.
Can't quite find the steal.
I thought he had it.
It was good timing, wasn't it? And that is the blink that's on cooldown. Actually, LG, that's worth considering. The Fury's still 50 seconds away, so that is going to be before this Gold Fury pops up. Certainly not enough by itself to be a window for LG to pull it, but it's just one more tick that might be in their favor.
Mid lane Aror will again just take. Aror is the lead singer and guitarist of this team. It's so much fun to watch. It could be a team fight.
And Lasbra is trying to stop the follow-up damage. He goes right for Venenu. Aror on his way to provide some much-needed peel, but the Typhoon gets Aegis. In comes the Hammer Stun and the ultimate from Xaliea, so Venenu will finally die, but they commit so much to get him. Really not much more Venenu could have done to survive.
And that's okay because the Gold Fury is not up just yet. 10 seconds. Oh, actually, that might not be okay. 10 seconds. It's going to be 20 seconds that Luminosity have this kind of power play of this objective. And if I'm LG, that's where I'm looking. You're down 3,000. Those are the plays you need to look for.
But Splyce still have a lot of stuff ready to go. Scream hasn't used his ultimate. Still has Bees. Still Frenzy. All the relics there for CycloneSpin. Meanwhile, all the ultimates down for LG except for the airstrike from Joshy. So we might see them play a bit safe. In fact, it's Splyce who start up the Primal Fury, recognizing that they do still have an advantage despite the drop from Venenu. But LG respond properly and push Splyce back out.
Great defense from Splyce here, but Luminosity, oh man, they've got to watch out because Venenu just has the best secure. Luminosity can't go for this unless they take the fight, and they're going to look for it, they're going to lose it.
Aror sets it up yet again and Scream's the one with the follow-up damage. Dingodile has to fall back in a little bit of trouble there, so he can't afford to stay up that low. Lasbra's been pinged. Aror knows where he is and catches him because of course he does. Zephyr there for the follow-up, but can't quite hit him.
Thor,
as up in the sky is SoloOrTroll. He lands towards the back line. Aror gets the kill on the Lasbra. Xaliea in some trouble too as CycloneSpin takes him, and all the while Primal Fury being burned.
I mean, this is exactly what I showed before about Aror handling 4 players while the rest of the team gets 2 left Harpies. That is a microcosm of what how Splyce approached the rest of the game. SoloOrTroll, they will capitalize off from a nice look from Venenu, and then the rest of the team just fall back trusting, and that's the word of the day. The trust that the team has in Aror and the front line, whoever's playing that at the moment, whether it's Scream SOT, like, it's incredible.
SoloOrTroll keeps too busy. Fire Giant confirmed by Splyce 19 minutes in. And Scream wasn't even here. Scream's off in the long link in the tier 2.
Oh, doesn't even need to. Oh.
Yeah, it's just him over here hanging out.
Dirty. Just absolutely dirty. Just absolutely dirty. Snoopy doesn't want this smoke.
Whoa! If you got a time machine, at least you use something useful. We're going back to the smoke ones. Here now, you can't handle this smoke. Whoa, dude. Let me go back and watch The Office for the first time or something then. No, I don't need that.
I said, boy, how the turntables the other day.
That's good work by you.
Oh, man, did I get roasted.
Oh, people didn't get the joke?
What a dumb guy. I was like,
did you do the perfect Michael Scott delivery? How the turntables?
Yes.
Yeah, that's on them. They gotta know the reference.
I was like, how the turntables. And
well, see, they might not have known. That's not quite the same cadence.
I guess. Totally looked at me like I had 3 heads. I let the cast breathe for like 3 seconds.
Right.
And then was like, yeah, they got him. I don't know. In case you didn't know, I thought it was sick.
Right. I did get that. Polynomicon picked up here by Venenu, it
love
looks
it.
like.
Love it, love it, love it.
And this is great here in this spot. What do you love about it here for Kukulkan?
It's classic. I mean, first of all, it's the Glickstick approved build, which is what you want to do when you're building into Kukulkan. But it's got mana, which is going to synergize with the passive. And with the fact, when you're looking at Zephyr, one of the problems with Polynomicon is that as a mage, you want to be out of basic attack range. If you're in basic attack range, you're probably going to die. Zephyr is a similar range, and so you're looking for the Zephyr basic attack combo. Also, check that out, 298 on a tower. Polynomicon works on towers for some reason, and it just helps even more.
Frenzy popped. This is an all-in from Splyce to try and grab this mid. Phoenix Aror way into the backline. SOT ducks down onto Joshy. Aegis buys him a moment, but Aror bit off more than he could chew. He bought some space, but pays for it with his life.
Love the patience from Venenu. Patience positioning is what Venenu makes his name on here. Xaliea pops the ultimate. Ultimate for Venenu still online. I think that's a moment where I wouldn't have been mad if Venenu just lets it rip, like I said earlier. But that, he's patient. He waits out a lot of the nonsense from LG, and now they're ready to push a second time.
Yet again, though, a bit of a quiet game from Scream. Second in terms of player damage, 1-0-1. But it's like you said in game one, right? They haven't really needed him, even, it felt like. I mean, he hasn't done nothing, obviously, but he's kind of been chilling.
Yeah, very low on the player damage charts as well. From what I've seen out of Scream, he's been able to provide the zone. He's been able to do some of the things that don't wind up on the scoreboard.
Sure.
But
he did that split push and got the tier 2. That's huge.
Yep, exactly. But
goodness.
Yeah. More to the point, like you said, I mean, Splyce couldn't do this with 4 players.
Well, I mean, at least here in this game, I mean,
that's
they almost functionally have, right? Like
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not here to put LG down. They're actually one of the more exciting teams, I think, of phase number 2. But Splyce right now, this is, listen, it's my job to call a spade a spade. This is easy for Splyce.
They've definitely been in control of this set here so far, up 14,000 gold here so far. And really all you can do is play the opponent that's in front of you. And right now, Splyce have played LG correctly in this game. Frenzy popped SOT, looks for the stun, doesn't find it. That means Xaliea does not get hit by the ult, but you gotta trust the setup will be there every single time. Xaliea makes it into the ultimate in time, and that starts to push back Splyce a little bit.
Exactly how you want it to be seen. Splyce walk back, everybody generally healthy. SoloOrTroll down to 50, but he doesn't really care. Now here's the jump onto the support, the fact afterwards. And Splyce are going to retreat off of the Suns. And I would love to see them surge again. They're going to look to back here because Fire Giant, that's it, okay. Fire Giant has spawned off of them, and they look for the holistic repush.
They will slow down. As you said, they've lost the buff. They'll be in position for it in 45 seconds. And LG show some defense there. They don't end up quite losing those Phoenixes. And these double hunters, they don't feel quite as good on the defense, but they do have Xaliea and the Jormungandr drop the pools. They've got something to try and build around.
And Snoopy is on the Ho-Yi, which is one of those hunters that actually can make a defensive push. We saw the Suns actually stopped Splyce in their tracks, but you're right, Jingwei doesn't really offer much in that regard. Really what Jingwei can do is punish those that go a little bit too deep, drop the persistent gust, and then pop after it. So if you're looking for that, that's a nice charge, but you're right, it's not the same as having a Thoth.
Right, if Dingodile finds a nice stun on the front line trying to get into the Phoenix, Joshy can extend that CC chain with the wing gust, or the persistent gust, but that's, you know, that's about it.
Also, that's a topic I can broach here.
Okay.
Luminosity Gaming, I think this is a, what did you say before? You got to play the opponent in front of you. I love the way that the way that you phrased that. At the same time, you have to play to the team that you are, and this double hunter composition works fantastically when you're ahead, and when you're even or behind, as you mentioned, it's not the greatest of defensive compositions. I don't come into this one going, all right, we lost, boys, pick all defense gods, but I think I make a better defensive composition than LG.
Venenu in trouble early, and he does end up dying, but at least gets the ultimate off. They make it a 1-for-1 trade. Make that 2 as Scream says he wants to finally get his hands a bit dirty. SoloOrTroll being controlled by Xaliea on the right-hand side. Josh, he wants to get in range for some follow-up damage, but he can't quite find it. The shots aren't landing, and Scream kills him before the airstrike gets off. Now SOT takes to the sky, keeps Xaliea out of it. Meanwhile, Dingodile falls, and they'll be able to take down Xaliea. That's what we call a deicide around here in Splyce. Might just be able to push for the end. No, they're going to come for FG.
Yeah, a little bit low on the respawn timers of everybody but Xaliea, I think, and that's going to be kind of the thorn in the side of Splyce. Fire Giant's the correct call. They're going to go for Fire Giant Jr. first, just for some added bonus. And Scream is going to steal the speed. Love it. That's kind of what you want.
They will indeed take this Fire Giant here on the right-hand side. And I kind of like what LG's game plan has become. They've started trying to all-in Venenu towards the beginning of the game. But, I mean, I don't know. Is that the right call? Should it be CycloneSpin they're trying to hit? I think that Venenu is the easier target.
Venenu is the easier target to hit. CycloneSpin, though, might be the better option. I don't know. Like I said, if I'm Luminosity Gaming, I'm more focused on the defensive side of the game. I think that the draft here was a failure, not in a vacuum. Yes, if you tell me Jormungandr, Susano jungle, double hunter with a Fafnir, this is a great draft. In fact, Ho Yi specifically against this composite, this is a great draft. But I just think it's not defensive enough for what LG needed to come in with.
Well, and that's exactly why they fight there, right? Because they can't come back and defend on the Phoenixes. So that's what I'm asking.
Exactly.
If they fight in that spot, you know, where can they go? I mean, getting Venenu, they got him early enough, and even the ultimate they did get off wasn't particularly impactful, and still, SoloOrTroll by so much time on that Thor able to get away from Xaliea long enough. CycloneSpin goes almost unchecked that fight. Scream is popping off now at this late stage of the game as well. Killing Venenu, they might have to try and switch to CycloneSpin if they all in.
I agree in that case, because CycloneSpin is the one that's going to burn down Fire Giant and prevent them from contesting it, for sure. This left side, if I'm Luminosity, I'm looking probably for whatever carries the closest. Aror and SOT are going to dive, and then whatever carry walks a little too far, that's who I'm looking to smoke.
Scream keeps it busy on the right-hand side as Aurora already has Xaliea below half HP. Stuck inside the persistent
LOL.
gust, but Scream chasing all the way towards the fountain gets Lasbra.
Kill
SOT
Cyclone.
takes to the sky, dunks back in, doesn't really find a target for himself, but mid-Phoenix is open seas and Splyce burn it down.
See, CycloneSpin walked in there. Luminosity, in my opinion, should have shaded over and taken care of that carry. Way too far up to be healthy.
I do think they've already correctly assessed that a slow-willing defense probably isn't going to happen as Aurora blinks in to get the daze on the Xaliea. In comes the ultimate from Venenu. Doesn't find a whole lot as Xaliea tries to make his way to the back line, but not going to get much done there either. SOT has been locked down and just barely ends up falling. That's a big kill.
Frenzy popped to the other side. The mid lane Phoenix still under duress.
Okay.
Aurora will die as well. And Luminosity Gaming looking for the kills, but Venenu finds the sneeze and another.
Well, hey, maybe they were right to try and get rid of Venenu. That's a ton of damage coming out from the Kukulkan. They can't quite get that mid-Phoenix just yet, but CycloneSpin and Venenu considering trying to push in, but now that Lasbra's up, I think they recognize they kind of got to give up the chase here. I said a slow kind of whittling defense might be out of the cards, but LG, I think they proved me wrong there by defending that mid-Phoenix.
I think that you were correct, and that LG didn't slow whittle. I think they just jumped in right at that moment.
Sure.
They didn't do anything on the left side.
They kind of let that go.
Exactly, and you know, I almost got a little mad about the CycloneSpin go. Venenu, though, is going to be flanked on here by Lasbra.
But Lasbra's the one that's getting flanked by Venenu. That was 1471 coming out from that ultimate. Lasbra.
That's a year.
He's still going to be taking damage in game 3 after that one, man. That's a big shot. Sorry. It's just not going to work.
That's insanity. I mean, that is the best shot that Lasbra is going to get. Nobody was looking at him whatsoever. Nobody knew he was there. And Venenu gets the first shot. I mean, that's absurd. He hits him at first with the Zephyr, follows up with the Polynomicon after the fact, and then on top of it, hits him with the ultimate. I mean, that's great play from Venenu, great understanding. What do you do there?
That is tough, man. I mean, once you're inside, the interaction point was earlier, right? Like, it was earlier on in this game. Now that we're at this point, there probably is not a whole lot that you can do. But, I mean, that's impressive for Venenu. I will use this game where Splyce are up 20,000 gold to prove Aggro wrong and may just do one-shot people. I choose to use this evidence to say that, yes.
I mean, yes, absolutely. That's 1471 is when the King of Denmark was born. Edward the First. That's a year.
That's a lot of damage.
It's not allowed.
Yeah. Splyce now in a pretty good spot here to control this game. Fire Giant buff has fallen off, so this might be a bit of a soft push from them, wanting to try and go around to the FG, but this is what we were saying, LG want to fight.
And look at this, Venenu on the Kukulkan can just deny this entryway, and now that the players are walking through it, his team's ready for it.
They're going to try and get Dingodile before the team comes in, but they can't do it fast
Snoopy!
enough. Venenu does it again, flattens Lasbra with the King of the East, or the King of the Serpent of the Nine Winds. That works for him. SOT finds Snoopy, and suddenly it's a 3-for-1 in favor of Splyce. Dingodile away on the left-hand side. Oh, he's de-transforming.
Oh, no!
If only this power could last forever. I think something like that's the line as Scream gets Xaliea, but that should be it for game 2. This Fafnir, level 19, is not going to be able to stop Splyce by himself.
Dingodile got hit with the de-evolution spray there. don't remember de-evolution sprint?
I sure don't.
Oh man, I called him a Pokemon earlier, unfortunately.
I don't think, is that a thing in Pokemon?
It.
You can give them an Everstone so they don't evolve, but you can't unevolve them, can you?
Listen, in Pokemon TCG,
Oh,
it
the
absolutely
card
is.
game.
Yes, listen, that is, and it was the base set. It was the base set.
I don't know where they got that.
It was
from,
the base set.
That's some craziness. Splyce come out on top here up against LG 2-0 so far, but the set's not done just yet. LG did show us some bright moments. That first Phoenix defense where they were able to push back Splyce was pretty strong, but they have been struggling in this early game to deal with Aror. For the most part, that's been the real big problem for them, at least in terms of establishing the initial lead.
Yeah, without a doubt, Aror has been continuously what's keeping Luminosity Gaming at bay. Later on, who picks it up for Splyce is up in the air. But in the early game and largely the mid game, it's Olorun, baby.
Yeah, not a bad game from CycloneSpin or from Venenu this time around either. Everyone on Splyce firing on all cylinders. The question is, can LG find some kind of way to slow him down?
INAP, powering the control room for the SMITE Pro League.
Splyce do it again in Game 2 and look absolutely dominant. And Xaliea not able to do a whole lot on the Jormungandr. Maybe, if he was using the Splyce Jormungandr skin, he could have done a little bit better. You can use the Splyce Jormungandr skin and do way better at home. Trust me on that one. Aggro joined by Zeros here on the desk. Look, Zeros, we opened the set and we said probably don't give Aror Hercules. Game 1, they give him Hercules, insta-lose. Game 2, give him Hercules, feels like they kind of insta-lost.
Yeah.
Maybe we ban it here in Game 3.
I think it's that time of the day where it's time to get rid of it.
Yeah, down 2-0, it's like, yeah, maybe we mess with this. I will say, though, Cyclone on this Merlin was popping off. He soloed Joshy
How many times?
A couple times, at least twice. And then Venenu on, you were a hater on the Cuckoo, but he was doing some stuff in the late game, man.
He did one-shot Lasbra about 2 times, I think, but then again, I feel like Lasbra kind of gave it to him as well. Still won't say that I think Kukulkan is a good pick, but I mean, it did work, I guess.
It did work for sure. The early game worked out for Venenu, and Screammmmm and Aror and SoloOrTroll were certainly there to help support him. But really, I think the story of this game was CycloneSpin. 27k player damage. Yeah. Look at the difference between him and the next closest member. And he was huge from the pretty early points, even though he got first blooded. He was the one who fell first.
Yeah, just so dominant. But then again, sure, he's playing well and all that.
Oh my God. He went so high. When you stack the knockups like that, it gets a little weird. But you were saying about Cyclone.
Yeah, like, he does well. But then again, I think it comes down so much to this Aror on Hercules. He just makes it so hard for the enemy team. They can't even go into their own jungle. He's there waiting. He just boulders you, not to kill you, to poke you out. Like, it's hard for the enemy team to like even get any farm on the map, and it makes it so easy for Venenu and Cyclone. They get so much farm for themselves, while Aror is just keeping everyone else at bay.
Something that we talked about towards the beginning. When your front line is doing a good job for you, then it's pretty easy to reap the benefits.
Yep.
And both Cyclone and Venenu certainly did, though this one had nothing to do with anybody but CycloneSpin. Joshy caught backing on a ward. I don't think I've ever used the fire one through a wall like that. I didn't know it went through walls, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I think I've done it a couple of times, actually. Not to brag or anything.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of messed around and did it a little bit. Aurora, this double pull onto both Dingo and Snoopy, that is, like, what? When you're a backliner, you go, thanks for the 2 kills, man. Like, I didn't do anything. That was all you.
They have pretty good AoE like follow-up as well with the...
Oh, here we go. No god can do this besides Kukulkan. Jumped on by a jungler. Sit down, young man. That's what Kukulkan is best at. Tell him Lasbra
that was
to sit.
all Merlin did.
What do you mean, man? 1,400 damage coming from that man on your screen right there, Venenu. We'll be seeing a little bit more of that next patch, I hope, when Kukulkan rises to power as a top-tier mid laner. I'm on Heroine's side on this one, you know, a famous Kukulkan lover. I'm trying to get my boy T a little bit of love here in the spotlight. Luminosity now down 2-0. We talked about it at the very beginning. They've got a sub. They're locked into their seeding. They're going to be the 8th seed. Splyce, it does matter for them, so I think they're going to continue to put keep the foot on the gas here.
Yeah, probably just pick the Herc again, unless LG bans it and just run the game. If it doesn't get Herc, Aror, it's probably something else early game. If he gets control early game against LG with a sub, I don't see LG being able to fight back.
So difficult. Snoopy has had a real tough day today, and I think that you can really tell that it doesn't have Ionic there. That 3v3 looks so much worse. And in a matchup where it's already going to be tested against Splyce, who's very, very good at that part of the game. Not to say that Dingodile hasn't played well or anything like that, but it's such a different dynamic there with someone different.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't fed his brains out or anything. He's been kind of doing his thing. He's been hitting most of his abilities as well, but then again, you compare to Aror, which is constantly in the enemy jungle, as I said, just bouldering people, just killing them sometimes.
I mean, Aror out-impacts the best supports in the world a lot of the time as far as the map goes, but Dingodile certainly not his best, not the best opponent to go up against with your debut here as a substitute. Look at that! LG, finally!
And it's the first ban as well.
And it's the first time they're in first pick, so I think that does make a big difference. Splyce has such a big advantage when they are in that first pick slot, it feels like.
Yeah.
But can LG get a priority selection? Because Splyce can probably pretty comfortably just ban Isis, Persephone, and whatever they want and feel pretty decent about their standing.
I was about to mention the set, but that's out the window, so...
Yeah, I mean, maybe Snoopy could have taken that, but Splyce pretty on top of it. LG gonna ban the Amaterasu. They haven't done a whole lot of work with it so far.
Oh, they always ban Persephone. I just want to see her in play, man.
She's so fun to watch
Yeah.
because she can make so many plays, but not here today, it doesn't seem. So LG, first pick. I think you probably just take Merlin for Snoopy. Get him on a mage so he can't fall quite as far behind early, you'd think, and keep it out of the hands of Splyce, but it seems like LG want to stick with the Jorm.
Yeah, I think if Splyce want to try hard, I think they might just go for Merlin, Olorun straight away here, but I think they might have some fun. We might see some weird picks again here.
I don't know. Aror, despite being like one of the most fun-loving people normally, in-game, he is so all business. Like, he locks in, man. He does not want to mess around a lot of the time. And you called it. Merlin Olorun, so difficult to go up against. And now I think that they just go Horus before the second ban phase here and call it a day. Like,
Yeah,
that's
like-
so good.
Fits so good with his picks as well. With Merlin, if that's going to be Merlin mid, like, such a long CC chain on Horus, and then Merlin has so much time to use, like, it doesn't really matter what stance he's in, as long as he gets both these abilities out, then probably going to be kills every time.
Change stance, well, that damage will help out. Circuit for LG and the Anhur again, most likely for Snoopy, though could be for Joshy in that long lane. Splyce usually doesn't wait on Auror's pick until bottom 2, so I'd imagine either Horus or Kukulkan, depending on what they want. But Horus seems like the natural selection. No reason to go anything different. It also just adds a little bit more physical damage. You don't want to incentivize the enemy team to be building magical against both of your carries.
Also shred protection on his 2. So
true.
you have Spear of Magus on Merlin, Demonic Grip on Olorun, and Shred for on Horus too. So that's, yeah.
Seems pretty good.
A lot of damage whoever's gonna eat that combo.
Yeah, that seems pretty good to me. I like where that's going. Poseidon banned by Splyce. It's been a pick that Joshy has looked very, very good on so far this year. I like that ban. I think LG looking at SoloOrTroll is probably the call. Scream's God Pool is so eclectic, you can't really ban it away because you're not banning Bastet and Awilix, though maybe Awilix would be a good ban here. Horus knock up there, Olorun, Merlin both have them, and both Circuit and Anhur could have a really tough time. I think Awilix might actually be the direction you want to go.
Yeah, especially for Anhur as well. If it's Anhur mid especially, I think, because it makes it a lot harder for him, because he kind of has to pre-beats every time he want to jump out if he's in a bad spot. So, yeah, I will expand.
Very smart. Splyce could go with the Mercury. That's something that Scream has played a good amount of as of late. Robin always a god in his god pool, but may just wait it out here. You know the solo lane matchup, and so they just get the Tyr over. Now, Tyr is a god we will see more of, for sure, with the next patch. He does not have the blue stance knockup. How does he do against Jorm, though? You can't fearless him.
You can't fearless him, but I think he is I think he has too much sustain for Jorm to ever be a threat against him. So like I think it's perfect, and I also love it because like they were gonna want 3 physicals here, right? And they need CC as well, and they have probably the 2 warriors with the most CC in the game right now. If they get like an Achilles or something on top of this, they have so much CC.
I like the sound of that. Achilles for Scream, always fun to watch. Cerberus, a god we have seen next to nothing of as of late, but there's a lot of sustain on the other side, and that passive does come into play sometimes in stealing away that healing. I just can't imagine that this composition for LG is able to keep up with Splyce, though.
No, they're such a good, like Mercury as well, also like a lot of CC, right? Like such a good comp, and like no real hard counters against the Olorun either to like prevent them from winning team fights. So I don't know. You look at all the picks from LG, and they're all kind of not all kind of weird, but you see Sir, we haven't seen that a lot. Vulcan, haven't seen that a lot. So I don't know, man.
Bit of a rough spot here for Luminosity. Also, the Mercury matchup against Cerberus, he really relies on slowing you with that ghastly breath. Mercury pops the 2 when you're slow immune, and how do you ever hit the stun on a Mercury that's that fast? I think the Mercury last pick here is pretty nasty, and Splyce looking pretty likely to go up 3-0 here, I think.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for Splyce to maybe pick a little bit worse of a draw, maybe something like Kukulkan or some other fun pick to watch.
They already did it once, man.
I guess they want to go home early today.
Yeah, they got plans later on tonight, and they're trying to make it for them pretty soon here. Splyce looking to get the clean sweep up against Luminosity and boost their chances for 2nd overall seed. We'll see if they can get the sweep with John Finch and Tom.
Xagro and Zeros. LG and Splyce do indeed move into game number 3. And LG does ban away the Hercules this time, which I think is a good step. This is just the problem you face on the back end of that. Auror's Horus is also pretty nasty in the early game as well. But try and put yourself in the best spot. Make him prove that he's in a rhythm with this Horus already here. Me personally, I don't have a problem with this.
Not at all. I think the Horus is going to be fantastic. It is a little bit of a different look. You see right away the Horus not looking for the speed buff invade, instead hanging out here on the left side.
Is joining along with CycloneSpin in lane. He's getting good damage onto Dingodile early, who's playing the Cerberus. This is odd. We really don't see much Cerberus nowadays, especially Cerberus support. It can feel like his 1 sometimes can be a bit inconsistent as a stun, and his ultimate is slow and readable. But I do think there are some room, especially if you have a lot of magic damage, where Cerberus can work.
Not here. Dingodile going to get beat up. Real talk, you know, I hate to pull back the curtain a little bit. Cerberus is just Dingodile's best character.
Sure.
It is what, you know, he's clearly ill-equipped to play at this level and give him the best tool possible. We'll see how it works out. I do think Cerberus, a leader in the game, is nice to look at. He's high damage. That ultimate is still insane, especially set up with Snoopy on the Vulcan, right? But Luminosity Gaming, you heard Zeros on the desk say, we haven't really seen a lot of these characters lately. They're all just comfort picks here.
Sure, and I do think that LG's done some work around it to make it work. I mean, Snoopy on this Vulcan and Xaliea on this Jormungandr are going to benefit from this Cerberus. Certainly, this Horus healing and the Olorun healing and the Tyr healing are all going to be getting reduced by this Cerberus as well. I am certain that this is a pick he's picking because he might not, you know, have been SPL ready, right? Ready to play in the SPL today. But I think that they made it work here in this composition for sure.
Well said. Left side though. The jump in from Joshy
Goodness.
is huge.
Joshy has Venenu in trouble. Lasbra finds first blood. He and Joshy work together to set that one up, and Venenu has to take a seat on the Merlin here this time. And Joshy is someone that you can start to build a whole game around, especially on her mid.
Yeah, without a doubt. Anhur's a character that you don't have to wait for the absolute late game for him to become relevant. Mid-game, if that. I mean, even in the early stages, he can absolutely make it work. Pre-5, he works out. You just see the first blood come that way, knock up into stun. And then post-5, you just let the ultimate fly, and you can watch wonderful things happen here. LG, nice flicker, are in a position where they can make moves from this spot.
Especially with Xaliea getting this Jormungandr again. This is the pick that he's looked so strong on as of late. Part of LG's big surge, I think, has been Xalia's improved play. And up against SoloOrTroll, who's also been making a big name for himself here in phase number 2. I kind of like that part of this matchup. These are both players that are improving at the same time with a lot on the line, and SoloOrTroll, at least here early, manages to make his way out of there. He actually comes back in looking for a kill, potentially.
Yeah, looking for the old, you know, wraparound and the Fearless. Great stuff there. Great use of the power cleave heal to get himself out of trouble. Boy, that's a big heal.
It is a big heal. That heal is good as is, by the way, as Xaliea is now the one that's in some trouble. Remember, you can't actually get that knockup for it, but they do get the daze there, which allows some additional damage. But now SoloOrTroll's low. In comes Dingodile, and he helps set up for this kill in favor of Lasbra.
Aror going to be running away. Lasbra, does he have the taunt? No! Dingodile jumping in, stunned, and there's the counterattack.
But I love him making this aggressive play, even if it doesn't work out. When he smells blood in the water, I love that he's willing to jump in on this. I know it ends up hurting him. That might not be the best play, but I want my guy stepping in confident.
I agree. Now, unfortunately, it's game number 3. I would have loved to see that sort of attitude in game number 1, but I'm right there with you. You've got to play that style if you're looking for it.
Lasbra's now the one that's in some trouble. SoloOrTroll finds a nice kill for himself, making 2 for 2, but Aror gets popped. That's the consuming bellows saying hello as Aror falls on the right-hand side on this Horus. And already LG's early game is looking a bit better. It's not 100% because there's not a Hercules here, but I got to imagine that's made life a bit easier.
Yes, I mean, it's a lack of pressure in the enemy jungle has allowed Luminosity Gaming to maneuver the map. I mean, that's the big deal, is that, sure, Aror is stripping away some experience, Aror is stripping away some camps, some gold. Aror is in your base infiltrating your information. And when you talk about a MOBA, information is just as valuable as experience and the gold. And when Aror can just say, I know where everybody on the map is, that's devastating. Aror in game number 3 has been relegated to his side of the map, and that has allowed Luminosity to have a little bit more wiggle room.
Yeah, everyone on LG has been more active, especially Lasbra on this Circuit. And I think getting him on this pick as opposed to, what was it, the Susano, that allows him to be a little bit more active right from minute 1 has helped out a lot. He's made some nice plays for him to put himself in this 2-1-1 spot, especially because he went with the Blink, the playmaking relic. He's ready to put his name on this early game.
When you're playing against Splyce, you're playing against a full team. And it's actually kind of ironic because we've been talking about how Splyce have been winning game number 1, game number 2, despite the fact that player A, B, C, or D has not been very active. With that in mind, Luminosity Gaming should look towards a more holistic approach as well. Susano absolutely can play with the team. I'm not saying he can't, but the setup potential coming out from the choice that Lasbra's going with here on the Circuit, a little bit more relevant.
CycloneSpin just has to survive. He's got help coming if he can buy some time with the Sanctified Field. Last breath comes through, but now Aror is here in the picture. Snoopy in trouble. Sonic Boom from Scream finds first blood, but Lasbra gets a response back here in this engagement. Trying to use the Ghastly Breath to keep this fight going because Joshy is now here as well. Desert Fury doesn't quite find enough of those spears, but Lasbra gets the last hit.
Great look there from Luminosity. Big team play. Again, that's going to be the key here for LG. If they want to take this contest away from Splyce, they've got to play as a unit. A lot of their choices here, I think, do bode well for that. Dingodile, Lasbra, Snoopy are some good team fight-oriented characters. They've got to make these rotations, and they've got to make them count.
And there's different styles that you can play. Kind of to go back to your point you were talking about who was involved in the games earlier. You can play with like a bullpen style, to use like a baseball analogy, where you want to use all your pitchers. Or sometimes you have a dude that you have your ace, and you need him out there pitching all 9 innings or 8 innings in a row or something like that. And Splyce have been playing this set so far like a bullpen. We don't need everybody for every minute of the game. We'll bring in some guys here and there. And it's not because anyone's even having a bad game. It's just who do they need at that particular given moment. And that's another factor of what makes Splyce so difficult to play against. Anyone can do it for them at any time.
Because it works out with their drafts as well.
Now, Aror is the one that's going to be in some trouble, but I forgot he was Horus, and he can just dash through walls to someone he needs, and then he has another dash after that if need be.
And what I mean by that, my previous statement being they can play it to their draft. You know, that if CycloneSpin is going to play this late game Olorun here in game number 3, they can wait for him late game. Whereas in game number 2, he was getting all these kills on the Merlin in that mid to early late game, right? That's what he was looking for. Joshy onto the tower, spin, and good. And here's a big ultimate from Dingo.
And yeah, Joshy actually avoided 2 pretty critical shots during that whole time too, so that's good jukes from him. SoloOrTroll wants to control him, but Desert Fury avoided it. Joshy's the one that sets up for the 1v1. And Lasbra comes to the back line. This was set up by Dingodile as well. Nice play from that 3v3 here in mid.
Yeah, big stuff there. If LG had more players local, I think that we might even see a fantastic, 3-player kill into an objective. But because Dingodile was making that play defensively to save his mid laner, Joshy, that was a little haphazard for the team to follow up on.
It was a bit tough there. Splyce getting a little bit aggressive here in this game, and to be fair, the aggression served them well. As CycloneSpin pulls the trigger, that's because Aror was waiting nearby with the ultimate, and Snoopy, caught unawares, can't make the Vulcan work so far.
I don't know if I love that ultimate, but the result is something that obviously is going to be fine.
Sure.
I think that CycloneSpin might hold on to that, especially with Aror there, but I don't know. Kill goes his way, not a problem.
Perhaps trying to see if he could bait out beads or some movement early to guarantee when Aror shows up alongside that CC. Hard to know exactly, but it does, as you say, end up working out, and you hate to have results-based thinking, but certainly that time it pans out for the squad. As CycloneSpin level 8, still a bit even there with Snoopy, who, despite the fact that he's 0-2, that extra wave helped push him out a little bit.
Trying to figure out where I want Luminosity to really provide a whole lot of resistance, because that's what they need to do. They've got this draft where they're confident, you can see it in their play style, and so I want them to look for a play, a pick. I can't decide, Finch, if I want to see them make the play onto CycloneSpin, or if I want to see them make the play in the middle lane again against, or in the middle lane against Venenu here. I think CycloneSpin is probably the taller task. But the mid lane, or excuse me, I think CycloneSpin is probably the taller task, but worth a little bit more because of that ultimate. Venenu, you can kind of find a little after the fact, but Sanctified Field will turn things on its head.
Some aggression here in the jungle. Looks like they've made their target, and it is indeed going to be Venenu, but Scream was waiting with the Sonic Boom. Lasbra gets the kill. Though Dingodile deserves some credit on that one too, as he gets in there with that paralyzing spit. That's enough to make it 1-for-1 mid laner for jungler.
I like this from Luminosity. Gold Fury is not the call.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But that's exactly what I was looking for. Whether it's left side, right, just make a move. You can't sit on your hands here. Luminosity actually have a gold lead, however slight it may be, for the first time all set.
And I think they were right to start the fight there, as that's the Sanctified Field out from CycloneSpin. And as you said, the first gank attempt on this Olorun probably not going to pan out, but this is the kind of thing you have to do. You have to keep forcing him to use cooldowns suboptimally, defensively, so that you can kind of whittle away at him and find some kills.
There you go. You hit him. As soon as the ult comes out, you run away. Before the ult is even unfurled completely, you're gone. And then you're just counting seconds until you do it again.
That's the plan. They're waiting here in the jungle for CycloneSpin. I doubt he knows that there are men hiding in the underbrush. Snoopy comes out first. Dingodile might have jumped a little bit too soon and gave up the ghost. Stun lands, though, and that's what they need. CycloneSpin, patient with the beads. He was waiting on exactly this. He avoids getting hit by the meatball and makes his way back to the Tier 1 tower. CycloneSpin is ice cold, man.
Oh, unfortunate. Snoopy going to be collapsed on and killed by Scream. At the top comes SoloOrTroll, and it's a 1-for-1.
Find a nice kill there, though they lost SoloOrTroll earlier too. And that CycloneSpin lives through that gank is nothing short of nuts. Lasbra in some trouble, controlled inside the blizzard, and another nice kill for Scream here, who picked up an Erendite early on this Mercury, whichever.
Oh my goodness, this is the battle of the junglers. I'm just looking, 7 kills in 11 minutes for Lasbra.
Yeah, he's had a really strong performance here on this Circuit. He's just been active, and Aror now in some trouble. Gets away, no he doesn't. A tower shot, it looks like, was waiting for him and catches him on the tail of that dash. A big kill for Joshy. But to go back to Lasbra, who you were talking about, I mean, some of those are last hits. You know, I don't know, 7 earned kills is the right way to look at it, but he has been involved in every last one of them and setting them up.
A whole item above Scream, who, by the way, is 5-1-1.
Yeah.
Second item, Erendite, for what it's worth. I do like that choice, though. 65 power is going to enable the, I would assume to be crit. There it is. Yeah, the crit after the fact. Just 1 power item. Sometimes we see Bloodforge here. I like the Erendite idea. Again, going to give him some movement speed after the ultimate. A cute build for sure.
That's right. It just doubles his even more power thanks to the passive there from Mercury. So not a bad pickup for him at all, as he sits on the short sword now, waiting on more crit to come through later. But this is more like the slash line I'm used to seeing from Scream. The reason we were saying it was maybe a relatively slow game from him in games 1 and 2, well, but he can certainly be the engine as well.
I got a chance to see him between games.
Okay.
I was going to walk away from that, and I was like, hey man, you're slacking. And he was like, what'd you say to me? And I said, you don't have enough kills. And he said, well, they're all taking it from me. So take them back. And he was like, okay.
Yeah.
And now he's 5 kills in.
Scream saying they're taking them from me. That's quality stuff there from him. Certainly on brand, I'd say, is this game basically even.
He rubs his hands together and he looks at me and goes, I mean, you know, I'm trying, but they know they're my kills. They just take them away, you know. This is what it is. And like, if you have ever been to an event, this is why I implore you to come to Hi-Rez Expo.
Yeah, HiResExpo.com.
You got to meet these folks. Scream is an enigma, and that absolutely is Scream in a nutshell. I mean, they know they're my kills. They take them anyway. I don't know what to say.
Well, he certainly plans on getting some kills this game. Rage built 3rd item for him, and he'll be enjoying that in a few minutes from now when he's got some stacks on it as well to get it fully evolved. Not a bad build path for him, really, from anyone in this game here so far. The Runic Shield from SoloOrTroll is something we're seeing more in response to Jorm, who got the Jade Emperor's Crown, a great response to this physical tier. It looks like we're going to have a bit of a skirmish. It's LG who are aggressive.
Yeah, this is the play. Xalia's going to start it, and there's Dingodile.
And you can clearly see what the plan was there with the setup, but it doesn't quite connect. And Dingodile is able to find CycloneSpin even inside the sanctified field. That's a pretty big pick for them as they head back towards this Gold Fury.
Joshy's low, but SoloOrTroll running around does not have Blink available.
And Joshy just gets left on an island back there. That was Timbuktu or something where he needed some help. And Aror gets the kill credits. SoloOrTroll now stuck battling in between two, but Tier's happy to do it. Uses the ultimate to disengage.
Odd play there from LG to leave their carry running. Scream's going to push the right side.
Like a refrigerator.
Teleport, and then going to come on back here. Yep,
Thoughts? that it was awful?
No thoughts.
Yeah, you're right.
So that was interesting. Xaliea was forced to teleport over here to the right side.
Right.
But Scream didn't stick to the tower. I think Scream pushed the minions in and assumed someone would come, and nobody came. But if Scream sticks to the tower, he might even get that tier 2. Enough what ifs or buts. I mean, Gold Fury going down now for real.
Yeah, this Gold Fury is very low and in favor of Splyce. Dingodile can't get in there. SoloOrTroll does a good job slowing down his path to make it into contest. That's a great window that Splyce recognizes open there to be able to sneak away that Gold Fury from LG.
Scream. It's just time to put everybody in the backpack. The Gold Fury is exactly, I mean, that's Scream right there. The Gold Fury goes down.
Don't feed into the man.
No, I'm here, dude. Listen. It is my job to call good and bad. If Scream was 0-5-0, I would sit here and say the jungler is bad. They are not doing their job. He needs work. Instead, he's 5-1-1, building crit and crushing the objectives. SoloOrTroll in a bad spot here.
And Joshy's the one that gets the kill credit. He takes SoloOrTroll down. That was a fight over Pyromancer that gets dropped. Snoopy has found CycloneSpin as well, and suddenly LG have 2 on the board. Nothing has worked for them all set long, and now here they are with a chance to catch Splyce off guard.
Splyce, I almost want to see them force a Pyro. The rest of Luminosity are on the wrong side of the map. Wrong side is objective, right? But over here, I mean, you had an opportunity. But going back to what I was saying, I mean, sure, like I don't mean to blow Scream's gigantic head already larger, but I mean, the man is carrying. He's got his backpack on. He's providing the player damage. He's providing the kills. He's providing the objective damage. He is the one that's providing the pressure in the jungle. Everything good for Splyce has come out of that Mercury. The problem is, things are looking great for Luminosity.
Luminosity are looking good. It's really helping them that CycloneSpin so far behind right now, level 13 on this Olorun in 1-3-1, second from the bottom of the player damage charts, only above his mid laner, which is not a good look, by the way. LG and the rest of the squad, after grabbing Pyromancer, have done a great job keeping these carries on the back foot. It's what we saw Splyce do in game 1.
And you know, it's funny. It's all about the picks. Follow me here, because it's not that Cerberus and the other choices that Luminosity have gone to is the perfect Xaliea composition. It's not that these characters are forgotten in the meta and that this is the solution. It is simply the mental aspect of playing characters that you're comfortable with. The ability to be aggressive there, we wouldn't have seen in game number 2. The team did not have the confidence or the wherewithal to make these aggressive plays like we see the dive in the backside of the left side of the jungle. We wouldn't have seen that in game number 2 because of the lack of success.
Sonic boom from Scream. He goes away to the back line and gets Snoopy's bead successfully. Now it's a question of how well can he reposition, and he's back with the squad. Aror even joins up as well. So I suppose you could say mission accomplished there on the beach from Snoopy at the very least, as long as they capitalize on that later on.
They have a minimum amount of time there with the Gold Fury already down. I mean, really, where can Splyce look to capitalize that? The answer is Fire Giant exclusively, and they're really not in a space to do that at the moment. So the beads are nice from Snoopy, but it's really just a... Like, that is not something I will celebrate Scream for. I think that is one of the rare times where that beads actually can be... Snoopy can just go hide. You can absolutely do that. Splyce...
Sure.
Protecting the red buff is an important deal because that's where Luminosity look to take away the game. You've made a couple of plays here, continue to be this aggressive, continue to push on the left side, and that's where Splyce is going to get put under the thumb. So Splyce paying attention to the red buff, very important.
Now, we're not late game yet. This is definitely still mid game that we're starting to move into. And I think that Splyce has just the better late game here with an Olorun, a Merlin, a Mercury in the late game. Does LG need to do more now to make up for that later, or do you think they can compete with them even 30 minutes in?
I think the draft can compete as long as Scream doesn't go off, and Scream's going to go off, so the answer is no. I think Luminosity do have to win this game before we see anything really come out from Splyce.
Before they get fully built on these items and such, because, I mean, they have done a really good job, like I said earlier, of keeping CycloneSpin kind of on the back foot here, man. I mean, he's not as far into this build as you might like. Only level 15 here right now. These next few fights are not going to be bad for LG at all with that advantage.
And that's been a concerted effort from LG.
Yes.
They have focused this left side. They've looked for this lane. They've looked to put CycloneSpin down. He was a terror in game number 2, and to kind of keep him at bay is what they're looking for sure. So by design, Luminosity, this is the first time that their play has actually come to fruition. So they've done what they've wanted to do. They've amassed a decent lead here. Now they have to look for page number 2. And how do they do that? Well, I mean, that's the question they've got to ask themselves. And if you want my 2 cents, stay away from Scream and finish this game before this Mercury goes out of control, because that is a time bomb.
And if you're on Splyce, particularly CycloneSpin, Ven, and Scream, you gotta make sure you're being really cautious about where you're choosing to use those purification beads, because Xaliea and Dingodile and Lasbra all demand purification beads from you, as Splyce have found the Primal Fury all alone, unattended. Snoopy, I think he knows something's up, drops the ultimate, doesn't get there in time to contest or find much damage, but it looks like LG still want to try and take a fight either way. Dingodile has started to move in. Xaliea has dropped the ultimate as well. Aror low, but Scream pops Lasbra with a big-time shot, and even though Xaliea gets a good knock-up, there's not much there.
Yeah, black coat, black shoes, black hat, black Cadillac. That boy's a time bomb. I mean, watch out. This Scream choice is incredible. He's going to continue to crit players. It's just going to get nastier from this point. He should not be 6-1-1 at this point. He should get 6 kills after the Deathbringer. So it is a very scary spot for Luminosity. I know they're in the lead, but this is... Hyper carry is a term that I think is largely overused. When I talk hyper carry, I talk characters that when it gets to the late game, they just win. I look at Kali, I look at Mercury. That's kind of it. Maybe old, new Freya, the Freya.
Yeah.
Current.
Classic Freya.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you
That's really what I'm looking for.
Well, let's see if we can take a look. Well, Snoopy's got CycloneSpin in some trouble here on the left-hand side. Joshy rotating in as well, and Desert Fury's enough. That's a big kill at this specific timing of the game, and I think that's why Splyce are considering pushing forward and looking for a bit more. But here's this Primal Fury being looked at by Splyce. Remember, this ultra from Snoopy wasn't quite there in time, but Joshy with this Desert Fury gets in there to grab.
Oh, I missed that. Oh, my goodness. I apologize to the fans at home. I thought that was a Splyce Gold Fury.
That's why part of how LG have kept this game close. Now, it looks like SOT did hunt down Snoopy in the middle lane as well. That's a pretty nice kill that he was able to grab there on that left-hand side to make up for the fact that CycloneSpin was missing.
Wow. Great play from Joshy. I didn't even recognize it. Splyce still down here. And they're defending their left side towers. I don't like how Lasbra is by himself here. I think the Luminosity have done the pick phase, and now they've got to look for the team fight. And going for the Pyromancer is exactly what you want to see. Pyromancer will give them a real lead here, Finch. And now, Luminosity need to stay grouped up.
Looks like they are considering at least some posturing around the FG, but look at all these backs from LG. This is not the timing that they want right now, it would seem. Scream level 20 has the Deathbringer and the Rage finished working on another crit item, as well as Lasbra's got the Heartseeker and is working on some more defense. Maybe they want to try and give Lasbra some time to finish that, or Joshy some time to finish what is likely a kin size that he's rounding this build out with. But they haven't liked this timing just yet.
Not at all. I think they want a little bit more power in their court, but as I said, the longer they wait, the stronger this Mercury gets. Picking Aurora would be big. Aurora's able to get out. Do they use ultimates? No, and I like that.
Looks like Xaliea did, though, on this World Serpent as he comes into frame towards the tail end of that engagement. That might even be potentially bigger than the horse.
That was used defensively. Scream uses the ultimate and tries to find Xaliea on the right side, but I agree. That might be a bigger deal than any of the other abilities.
Well, that's the blink from Dingodile to get the beads out from CycloneSpin. SoloOrTroll has now been targeted in the Desert Fury's there. He gets the Lawbringer off and makes it to the back at Snoopy. He's gonna need some backup. SoloOrTroll falls to Lasbra, but CycloneSpin gets Snoopy. They trade solo laner for mid laner, in particular this Vulcan. That's a tough call.
The Vulcan will threaten the steal and the confirm, so it's not that bad.
Scream is starting to get low. Lasbra looks for him, finds him with the Cobra's Kiss. LG certainly still hanging in there in the later hours of this game here now up against Splyce. It has been all Splyce in this set so far, but LG not showing any quit yet.
Love the target prioritization there. I've been screaming about Scream, no pun intended, for the entirety of the game and how he was carrying it up. Right now we've seen a lull in the action, and then he's going to do bad things once he finishes off this build. Mercury, a very, very item-dependent character. So right now, Luminosity need to take advantage of him, and they are. Lasbra hunting him down, chasing down the 1% HP. Mercury making sure to bring that kill home. These are the plays that need to happen for Luminosity if they want to hold on to this lead. Only Fury's up in about 30 seconds, Finch. I want to see them make a concerted effort to look for this, get it, push a lane, get a Fire Giant, win the damn game.
Some of those power spike items I was mentioning before are now finished. Wind Demon there for Scream, the Mantle of Discord there for Lasbra, the Kin Size there for Joshy. If I'm LG, I think I agree with you on this one, Tom. This would certainly be a good time to fight. They've got Aror low, and he definitely doesn't have time to channel the ultimate now, but he needs a friend, and it's SOT that gives him a pathway back out. But now this low, can he afford to be the front line as Fire Giant starts up for LG?
I don't hate this call, especially with Snoopy here and available. Splyce are going to be interested. Snoopy is right there in position, launches the ultimate, finishes it down. LG grab it.
And Joshy's low. Scream pops him with the mage. A look. Aurora takes to the sky as well. Snoopy gets controlled. A double kill for Scream. This could suddenly now be a disaster for LG if they don't get the remaining members out of here. They've already lost the damage dealers. All the carries are on respawn timer. And Xalia's been caught without an ultimate and starting to be locked down. Dingodile can't do much to help without his own ultimate. Lawbringer over the top from SOT. Splyce want to take it to LG.
Xalia's in trouble. Venenu's going to pick that one up. Lasbra on their backside answers back for the team. The tower crumbles.
And Dingodile, has now been knocked up as well. Lasbra wants to go in. He wants to get to Venenu and the carries in the back line, but there's too much CC. The Mantle proc lets him get back out of there, but Splyce turned that play on its head.
Oh my goodness. What did I say before? Scream is going to be the difference maker. Everything coming up healthy for Luminosity Gaming, and they're still on the back foot because of 2 kills out of the Mercury.
Well, Josh is going to be up soon, so is Snoopy, so I think Splyce correctly identified this isn't exactly an end push, especially when they don't have the Fire Giant themselves. They can probably still make a play over here on the left side of the map. They're going to strip away the jungle and start slowing things down for now. But Tom, I mean, what did you see go so wrong for them in that fight? Well, we might not even have a chance to break it down. They're starting a Prime Oni, rather. And it looks like LG want to be here for the fight.
That's the right play. Splyce are able to grab it. Lasbra has an opportunity here, but Aurora plays it perfectly.
Aurora now being the one that's jumped on. He'll use the ultimate so that he won't be the sacrificial lamb, allows him to reposition, and LG finally have to give up on this push. But yeah, I mean, on that Fire Giant, yes, they get the objective, but I mean, how does that get out of control for them?
Honestly, Rage, Deathbringer, and Windy. It really is just the fact that Scream has the items amassed now and is able to mage you look for 700 damage. 653, I apologize. And then he's able to follow up with some in-hands after the... Hey, look at that. It is absurd. This character is scary when he gets to the late game.
Yeah.
And really, it is, you know, jokes aside, you know, the character, the player. Scream is playing well. The character is exactly what they need, and Splyce was able to turn it around because of the carry potential out of the jungle.
LG now going to consider making a push of their own. And they still have FG buff on Dingodile and Lasbra for how much that counts here at this point, not on any of the ideal targets. And they can't get the tier 2 Splyce rotate over in time to slow them down. Scream does find a sick angle, though, with that Sonic Boom and that fight and get right back towards Snoopy on the tail end. The plan was clearly to try and confirm it. They had Snoopy tucked away where he could ult over the wall to try and make sure they got the objective. But I think he was on top of a ward for SoloOrTroll, so Splyce had the info on where they were and were kind of able to make a dive back there.
Could have been the info, because like I said, I mean, I still think information is the #1 tool that you can use when it comes down to the game. Scream primed and ready in case anybody turns around the corner. Believe you me, he will delete them. But Splyce grouping up in one unit, looking for that left side tower, and I like the choice. Scream, I want to see Scream look for the flank, look for the dissection, look for the defensive play, because if he catches one player out, the crit will do the work.
Only one tier 2 tower remaining for Splyce trying to take care of. That's way over in the right lane. Remember, they've already gotten the mid Phoenix, so that's why Scream's pushing up that middle lane to try and make sure they have that constant threat there to pull at LG. Fire Giant buff falling off in 25. Not super impactful. It's not helping that much for LG anyway. It's more about the Fire Giant being about a minute away from spawning. It's Splyce. We'll have to decide if they're the ones that start that fight or if LG are going to continue to be the aggressors.
Splyce right now are in a position where I think, like you said, you got to worry about the aggressors here, but I think Splyce has to just reset. Don't think about aggressors, don't think about defenders, don't think about anything else, but this is a clean game. This is an even match, 6 items versus 6 items, and it all goes down on the battleground of the Fire Giant. This is what we're looking at. Splyce need to forget they've been beaten by LG in the early phases, and LG at the same time need to forget that Splyce has beat them 2 games in a row. LG has to capture this lightning that's worked out for them in the 29 minutes. The half-hour play here has been all Luminosity for the most part, outside of Mercury. Isolate the Mercury, put him down, and then you've got a team fight.
Well, LG are now in front of this Fire Giant pit and trying to maintain control. Remember, they were the ones somewhat in the lead, a very small one when they started up that FG, so they might have perhaps felt that they were the ones with that onus to act. They still enjoy a 6,500 experience lead, but 30 minutes in, it won't amount to a whole lot. This game virtually tied now at this point, but Splyce, after winning that last fight, might feel like they're the ones that can be the aggressors now and try and stop LG, and it sure looks that way. Aror blinks in first, and he does get beads out of Snoopy.
Falling back is going to be Luminosity. CycloneSpin providing some damage, but not enough. And again, where is Scream? Keep your eye on the Mercury, whether he looks for the straight ultimate down the lane or he looks to catch Lasbra on the flank. That's who you want to look at, is the jungler.
And that's why LG are positioning like this on the left-hand side. They don't want to give those lines of sight over to Scream on the Mercury. Lasbra goes right for Scream on the back line and drops the last breath as well. Mantle proc buys a moment to reposition it. Scream might even have to back off that.
But even, and that again, the pressure that Scream, I'll use it. Threat of activation.
Right.
Scream can ult down that line at any point in time, so Luminosity have to watch him. They have to be aware of that threat, and that allows Splyce to just get the tier 2.
Are they going to consider going in without Scream? He had to back and doesn't even have beads when he comes in, and Aror used the ultimate to bring 4 members over to the right, but they don't find a whole lot there. The last tier 2 tower is now down, though, so they've got a clean path in through all 3 lanes. If it is Splyce, it ends up with the FG. They are starting to fall back towards that position. Scream is here, but remember, he can get controlled once he gets to the back line very easily now.
That's the thought process. And that's the hope for Luminosity. We want some bonus smite, which I do. I'm here for game 4. You absolutely need to see that come around the other side.
Xaliea moves in first, does find the knock-up onto 3, and the big ultimate over the top. Doesn't find a whole lot of damage, though. Scream really only finds 1 with the Sonic Boom, so that doesn't get a lot either, and Aror will be the first casualty of war here in this fight, but that is not slowing down Splyce at all. They're still surging forward, but LG with low health bars at least win the first skirmish.
Scream's gonna blink forward to look for more damage. Can't find the one shot. He was looking for the blink, pop on a Snoopy, but it's enough room to start Fire Giant.
Wow. Even though they lost a member, they're healthy enough to where they are correctly starting up the FG. Look how fast they're burning it. Splyce are able to secure the objective. Way in the back line, Lasbra has to jump away with the ambush too. He can't fight for Splyce, man. The awareness to turn around to losing Aror and grab the FG, that's nuts.
Aror brings nothing to a Fire Giant push. What Aror brings is zone potential. Luminosity are already zoned because of the damage that was dealt during that team fight, and so the damage, I mean, the best mage at dealing damage to a Fire Giant, maybe Soul is in the conversation, but it's Merlin. And when you talk about physicals dealing damage to a Fire Giant, you're looking at Critical Strike. You've got Scream building full Critical Strike, and you're looking at Venenu on the Merlin. These are the characters that are going to kill the Fire Giant the fastest. They might not have the best confirm, which is Snoopy World, but as I said, Snoopy was already pushed out of the fact. Aror didn't need to be there. The zoning was done. The Fire Giant goes Splyce's way. Beautiful recognition.
And now a fight on the left-hand side of the map over Primal Fury. It would be odd if this does end up happening. I imagine LG, especially with the game this even, would much prefer to fight with the advantage of having the Phoenix helping them out as well and making someone on Splyce tank that up. How do you feel about this Phoenix defense from LG if they're able to make it there?
It's not the worst. I think that what Snoopy offers with a turret is very, very nice. I always like Anhur on defense. The Pillar is just annoying, and then Desert Fury is both useful as a defensive tool and offensive. The clear is fine from the rest of the squad. Lasbra can individually find a guy. I'm down. I think that there are better compositions, but this is miles. This is streets ahead of what we saw in Game 2.
Thanks, Pierce. Splyce now going to try and find a way to try and siege in. And their initiation, I think, does get a little bit worse here on the Phoenix Siege, at least on the side of Splyce. But there's some shenanigans you can get up to with the Horus ultimate in terms of where you try and use the ultimate to move onto a different Phoenix. Do you push one and then ult everyone over to a different one? There is some opportunities for that we haven't quite seen come to fruition yet. Aror might have a chance to show that off here.
If Splyce all 5 stand in the middle, or like the middle lane, and Horus ult, you lose a Phoenix. You just can't spread the floor that far. All 5 players are going to go to the way that you don't go. And then you spread, you go, well, we'll put 2 on every Phoenix. 5 versus 2 wins. So that's the tool of Splyce. Yeah. I mean, they absolutely can depend on that, or they can just do the 4-1 split push, which I think I like a little bit better, because, yeah, I dare you to solo Scream.
And that mid-Phoenix is the weakened one they've already gotten already. So Scream goes back to grab some waves so he can push up and threaten this Phoenix. He wins a fight against just about anyone in the 1v1. I say that, but Lasbra and Joshy handle him perfectly in the middle lane.
Ain't no such thing as a 1v1 in the SPL. Lasbra lines up, Joshy gets the kill after the fact. That is exactly what Luminosity needs to do. Focus down the Mercury. Splyce realized they can't do it without Scream.
And I'm not surprised, but I am impressed with LG here. And the reason being that this is a pretty easy game, I think, to phone in all honesty. It would be really easy in this set, especially now that you're already down 0-2, to throw in the towel a little bit, and we haven't seen any quit, anything like that, even remotely across LG's minds. They're absolutely out here trying to win this game, and they've got a really good shot. That play in middle lane there on the Scream was nuts to lock him down with Lasbra and have Joshy there willing for the follow-up. Again, not surprised at all, but I love what we're seeing.
I am a little surprised. I am a little surprised.
I mean, it would be easy, I think, to kind of be mentally checked out. I really think it would be easy.
I would not be surprised if Ionic was here. I think Luminosity Gaming in phase number 2 has been fantastic.
Yeah.
They have been, and I almost think it's unfair to bring phase 1 stats out when you talk about it, because it's a wildly different team.
Yeah.
Lasbra in the jungle versus wherever the hell he was put earlier, like it's a no-brainer that this is night and day. Luminosity, if this is the team they have from phase 1, not only because of the wins and losses they're able to amass, but because of the time in the oven, so to speak. Nice steal from Xaliea. That's just a pirate. But I just wanted to see more from Luminosity. This is not a bottom-end team if they start week 1, phase 1 with this unit.
I think that they have played far beyond the record that they inherited way back in phase 1. And I mean, I think there's something to be said for, at least comparatively, looking at some of these records compared to what they had in phase 2. I mean, Rival what, they're 6-3 now here in Phase 2 as opposed to the 8-1. Certainly a bit of a slip, but still very impressive from them, right? So, you know, when you consider the Phase 2 record sometimes compared to Phase 1, I think they do tell a bit of a different story. LG 4-4 here in Phase 2 so far as opposed to how they were in Phase 1, right?
And
Much
I
better.
think as you watch Rival kind of, you know, you brought up Rival, but all of those top-end teams have been brought down a peg.
Just a bit, yeah.
Let me rephrase it. I don't think they've been brought down a peg. I think that the floor has come up.
Yeah.
Sorry, Space Station. Most of the floor has come up. And you know what? Even there, Space Station, with their switch, the approach to the mid and the long lane, has been effective in the final moments of our Phase 2. Maybe a little bit too little too late, but watching Luminosity, you know, do what they've done, I think the way I felt about SK Gaming in Phase 1 is how I would have felt about Luminosity if this is the roster and the team that we were given at the beginning.
I think this team has a really good chance to make it a placement week. I really do.
They're going to make somebody, man.
I think so, man. I mean, and even if they don't, I imagine they're going to go down swinging hard. So this is a team you certainly want to make sure you're keeping your eyes on here, this LG unit. And to be honest, you might get to keep watching them a little bit more today if they win this game. They're in a great spot to be able to get that done up against Splyce. The only problem is that I do think Splyce's roster is a little bit better suited for fighting at 38 minutes and a half into the game. And if Scream doesn't get picked there, they might have won that game on that Phoenix siege. So
absolutely,
it's tough to say.
That's the other side of the coin, is that, you know, I will sing all of the praises for Luminosity. Like I said, I will call a spade a spade. That is absolutely what I'm supposed to do. And in that vein, Luminosity, great stuff. Everything I said, I completely agree with. Positivity, blah, 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 blah. Splyce is better than them, and they will just win this game in a best of 5. Or this set in a best of 5. This game is not out of reach for Luminosity.
No, not at all.
At all.
It is just possibly, it's definitely further out of reach than it was 20 minutes ago, though. And this is what we were talking about 20 minutes ago was, you know, how much pressure was there on LG to try and push this game further out of reach around that timing? Because now is when you are dealing with a Mercury that can one-shot almost anyone on your team, definitely your carries, with 1 or 2 basic attacks at any point. You have CycloneSpin, this Olorun that will be shredding through your Phoenixes if you give them a little bit of time with a minion wave, or and Merlin on this Fire Giant late game. It is going to be a bit tougher for them now.
I mean, Splyce there's no way to kind of play it differently. They're wolves in wolves' clothing. They don't come out here and go, okay, we're going to be a light team. We're going to not really aggress on you. Scream's like, hey, you have a sub, and I'm going to target him, right? 1-1-12, this has been the best game that Dingodile has played. The first 2 games were rough because Splyce targeted that. Shoutouts to the split push. This will get a Phoenix if Xaliea doesn't back.
They are trying to back here, and I think they will at least get Xaliea back in time. And Scream has recognized it, so he's not going to push in too much.
Choose your own adventure. Choose your own adventure. Lose a Phoenix, lose a Fire Giant. They're your choice, folks.
It looks like they send Xaliea back to defend. Now it's a 4v4 for the rest of the squad, but Xaliea can get back to the Phoenix a little bit faster. Dingodile can't find the ultimate. He might have been put in combat. I don't think he got to blink. He is still able to use B to jump back out of that sanctified field, but Aror's in the ultimate. They're smelling blood in the water and ready to aggress, but no. They start to slow down a bit. Don't want to get too ahead of themselves.
You are very correct there. That was absolutely intended to be a blink. That said, even with a blink, I don't know if that's the world's greatest ultimate. Splyce now have opened the door and walked on through it. Left side is still threatened by the Mercury. I don't know.
I'm surprised.
It is the right call.
I'm surprised that LG don't feel confident about their Phoenix defense. Maybe they just feel so good about their fight out here that it's not they think their Phoenix defense is bad, but they're confident they could win a fight on FG.
I think that's really more the case. I think that Snoopy, Lasbra, and Xaliea have really confirmed that they can take these fights. You know, even there, Dingodile looks really silly, but that happens to almost every pro support getting put in combat before the blink. That's just good play by Splyce.
Fire Giant's already low, and Splyce confirmed this when Dingodile does get pulled back in towards the damage, but they don't commit entirely to him. They know where Lasbra is on this left-hand side. He managed to get his way out of there with the ambush too, and now whether LG like it or not, now they will have to play defense from one of these Phoenixes.
Ping's coming out as Splyce are still on the chase. SoloOrTroll doesn't have a blink. 50 seconds left.
Auror's ulting already. It looks like they're trying to make some kind of split push play happen. They're going to dive to the back of the Phoenix, and I don't know that LG are ready. They find Snoopy, and I think they catch him unaware. Xaliea has to go into the ultimate right away to stop the backline from getting close enough to follow up with their damage. Lasbra's brought down to half HP by SOT as Xaliea regroups, but Splyce, just by using their ult, get a ton of reaction from LG.
You took the words out of my mouth. Xalea's ultimate there was fantastic. If Big X doesn't make that play, it's already done.
Dingodile tries to go back to find a big ultimate for himself as well, but Scream trying to bring down Joshy. Can't quite get him, but he makes it out. CycloneSpin melts the Cerberus back towards the front line, but Snoopy pops Aror way back on the backside of the Phoenix, but he'll happily take that death because it opens up the Phoenix for his team.
I mean, see, that's what I'm talking about this Mercury being a time bomb. 2 shots and your carry's gone.
CycloneSpin's in trouble now as well. Xaliea tries to get there, but Scream goes to the back line against Joshy. SoloOrTroll is able to find Lasbra as well. Snoopy's incredibly low, and they don't need much more damage to get to him. SoloOrTroll wants to get the job done, knock up Immune, and that just leaves Xaliea to try and defend against 4, and Scream won't even let Xaliea have a shot at it. 400 a pop sends Xaliea back to base. That's the deicide in the game. Splyce finally close it out.
Fantastic stuff. 20 kills each. And Luminosity absolutely bring it this time around, but as you said, man, Splyce just out of control here. This is the way the team's supposed to win it.
And LG come in with a sub here that they haven't had very much time to play with at all, in all honesty. I don't even know if they got any scrims in with him, and they take Splyce 40 minutes here in game number 3, really with not even a whole lot to gain. I do like what we saw here from this LG team, even though they couldn't close it out.
This is a testament to the type of playstyle that LG is capable of.
Yeah.
As you brought up, Dingodile clearly not a part of this team, and that's all well and good. But the difference here, when we watched game number 1 and 2, all right, they were relatively easy. What was the difference between 2 and 3? No Hercules. Hercules coming out from the Aror made him play on the other side of the field, and what that does is it creates a whole different style of Smite that you have to deal with. Pressure everywhere, butterfly effect, etc. By taking Hercules out of the equation, you got more honest Smite. You got fair Smite, so to speak, and even without a support player, this LG team was able to take Splyce 40 minutes. Like you said, that is a big deal.
And if you're wondering how hungry this LG team is, I think this set shows you. You don't think that Snoopy and Xaliea and Joshy and Lasbra want to grab this win. They just showed it here today. I would be worried to face this team in the placement week later on. But that'll do it for Tom and I here. Let's get it back over to the desk, have them break it down a little more.
Thank you, Finch. What a game there for LG. They nearly get there, a really, really close one, 45 minutes, but ultimately Splyce do complete the sweep. Aggro joined by Zeros here on the desk. I mean, Zeros, a good performance there from LG. What made that game so much harder for Splyce?
Not having a Herc on Aror, I think, is the main part, which is honestly kind of worrying for them, I think, going in. Like, obviously they still look good in this last game, but they do play against LG, and they have a sub, and they still struggle this much to finish out. So, like, is Aror on Herc, like, that big of a thing for them to have to, like, really succeed, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point to bring up. CycloneSpin as well did not look nearly as good on the Olorun as he normally does. Honestly, it looked like Splyce in general had a bit of a trouble with Dingodile on the Cerberus. I mean, he had a really good game and really was impacting the map more than Aror was, it felt like.
Yeah, he's one of the main parts that gave CycloneSpin such a rough time as well. He had multiple ganks in the duel, enforcing beats, and like sometimes they got the kills as well. So like, really good performance by by Dingo here, actually.
The Dingodile indeed does get it almost done, but ultimately comes up just a little bit short. Joshy has a big Gold Fury steal. Snoopy was putting out player damage. I mean, Lasbra got huge on this Circuit in the early game. Lasbra was really running it in the early stages.
Yeah, it's just these Danish players on Circuit. I don't know.
It's in the water over there. You know,
it must be.
There's something going on. I mean, Cuvo known for probably the best Circuit in the entire world, and then Lasbra kind of do it the same way. But for every move Lasbra was making, Scream was able to match it. He finishes in double digits in the kill department, has a couple insane plays. Scream, we talked about at the very beginning, man. When he's playing at the highest level, and he really is right now, it feels like, he seems unstoppable.
Yeah, for sure. And like, he was so huge in this game as well. So was Lasbra, but he was like equally huge all the time. And like, he was just such a big threat for LG all the time to deal with, because like, he was kind of split pushing, yet they never really knew where he was. And like, if he gets in at a good time in a team fight, because he had full down, I think he had triple crit with the what's it called, Arondite?
Yeah, with Arondite and Bloodforge.
He can just come in. If he comes in the right time, he just two-shot anyone pretty much, so.
He really did it quite a few times. Here's that Primal Fury steal coming from Joshy. all of us kind of thought that was it, that this was in Splyce's favor. It was Doug, the cameraman, who pointed it out. Somehow one spear gets in there in time to steal it away. I mean, Xaliea had a good performance on the Yorm this time around. I think that overall, if I'm LG, you're coming in, your expectations aren't particularly high with this set. I think I'm coming out of this set feeling more confident about how we're playing going into placements. Yeah,
for sure. This would definitely be happy, like playing with a sub as well, and still playing this close with Splyce, which like one of the top teams, right?
No doubt.
Yeah, so like just impressive stuff.
Good job by the LG boys, but Splyce keep that second seed dream alive, and that's what they're shooting for right now. Rival has locked up that top seed with their win today, but Splyce looking like they might be able to make it into that top 2, surpassing Dignitas. Renegade still there to contest with them, but Splyce right now certainly have the opportunity. A couple games left to go in their season. I mean, I think that Splyce has played well enough throughout the year. Renegade's early start, despite how dominant they've been in Phase 2, I didn't think that Renegades would get the top 2 in the standing just because of how poorly their Phase 1 went record-wise.
Yeah, for sure. But then again, Renegade in the last set did not look great either. The draft was super off, in my opinion, and like didn't look that good either. So I feel like a lot of the top teams right now, they have some performances where they look really good, like Rival in the last 3 games of their set today. Yeah. But then they have some games as well where they don't look like super good. So
concerning for the top end, I think, overall. But either way, the top end gets it done across both sets today. We've got a couple players from Splyce standing by. It's Aror and SoloOrTroll standing by for an interview.
All right, we have SoloOrTroll and Aror here from Splyce Solo and Support. First off, congrats on the wins there, fellas. And SoloOrTroll, I want to ask you first, not even necessarily about this set, but just in general, when you first played with this team, like when you subbed with them back at the beginning of the year, it seems like maybe the confidence wasn't quite there, but now it feels like you're a playmaker for this team. Talk to me about how your role has grown here on Splyce.
Oh yeah, I definitely went from more of like a kind of just AFK, just kind of get carried by them and let them kind of just tell me what to do, and sort of now I'm just playing with more confidence, and I trust my teammates to follow up with something that, like, let's say if I'm diving super deep, I know that they're gonna at least get something off it. Like today they got FG, or I know Scream can help me, or Work can help me. So
a lot of times as we reach the end of the season, teams kind of dig into the funny bag. Not you guys. Aurora, is that part of the culture? You guys seem to play the same here in week 12 like you did in week number 1?
Yeah, I mean, if it works, it works. So we just keep it rolling.
Well, what about coming into this set? Because it's tough when, they're going to be playing with a sub. You don't know how they're going to be or even how they're going to approach the set. What was you all's mindset like coming into this? Because it still matters for you all. You could still finish as high as second, I believe, if you went out.
Yeah, I mean, we prepared the same way as we usually do. And we just came in ready. The one thing we couldn't predict was their sub that they brought in, Dingo, and he played really well, I feel like, especially for the first time playing SPL. I feel like game 1, I don't think he realized what the pace of the game was going to be like, but he adjusted really well for the second and third game.
Speaking to that, obviously the third game, 40 minutes, much different than games 1 and 2. What can you speak to about LG and what their opponents are going to have to look at in placement week?
They're a pretty solid team. I think their carries played it pretty well. The comp that they drafted was okay, and I think it helped them do well that game. So if they keep playing like that and like looking at comps like that, they'll probably end up doing pretty well in placement week for their play style.
And the last question, Aurora, we were describing you all as it feels like anyone can pop off for your team at any given time. Like Scream didn't do that much in 1 and 2. He wasn't much needed. But then in 3 on the Mercury, he was kind of leading the charge there for you all. Do you all draft around that? How do you play? I guess, how does that end up happening where someone's the one that feels like almost that's like the one popping off that game?
Scream said he was bored in the first 2 games. But he's like, I'm playing Mercury and getting kills this game.
That's about how much I thought went into it.
He says he's gonna farm GPM.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to you all on the win. Appreciate any chance we get to talk to you two. Congrats on the win again, and we'll get it back to the desk to close the day out.
Thank you very much, guys. Hey, Scream, the GPM king. He talks about it all the time. He's got the highest GPM in the league. You got to give him credit where it's due, I suppose. Let's take a look at what we've got going on right now overall in the entire SPL. Splyce move up to number 4 in the standings, matched with Pittsburgh Knights as of right now. Both teams do still have games to play. Both Rival and Dignitas are done with their seasons, so they are sitting at their final spots. Rival will be your number 1 seed. Dignitas still has potential to move, however, as do Renegades and E United with just one game remaining, looking pretty likely in my mind to end up as the number 6 seed as their last game of the season is up against Renegades. And that's later on in the week, which we can take a look at right now. Tomorrow we kick it off with Splyce up against Obey Alliance as they continue to try and make it up to 2nd seed. And then Zero is a game that E United and Renegades, neither team looking particularly inspired as of late.
Gonna really be interesting. I really hope E United steps it up because I felt they played so well and then played super poorly last week. So if they can step it up again, I think they're going to be a huge confidence booster for them going into HRX.
It's going to be needed, I think, and that's a team that has high aspirations for sure. Thanks so much for watching today here at the SPL desk. Make sure you're here bright and early tomorrow, 11 a.m. as we kick it off with Splyce versus Obey Alliance. We'll see you then. Until now, you can peach it.